Yep, we're back. We are still, unfortunately, going to be talking about the same thing. I thought I would be able to do it for just one day and that would be it, but it doesn't seem to be the case. We do still need to make a couple videos. I will probably get back to doing a daily upload schedule. The every other day scheduling stuff is fine. It is working, but I'm not sure if it's helping or hurting at this point. So I think trying to throw more stuff at the wall and see what sticks is probably a better option. That being said, our first video is going to be on this Archcast stuff, plus a little bit of news from the AP, and then probably we will do this other article from the AP, just kind of showing a little bit of the bias here. Like even this thing, which is supposed to be like a fact checking article, I found with like literally no research whatsoever, none needed, just the stuff that they told me in the article itself. I go, oh, okay, this is pretty biased. So we will do that. I think probably the first thing we will do is this specific one. So, do you support people being canceled for their opinions? No. Except when you live in a culture where one side has been canceled for their opinions for decades at this point. Now let's do that again. That one was terrible. All right, we'll do this again. So, do you support people being canceled for their opinions? No. Except, of course, unless you live in a culture where one side has been canceled for their opinions for a decade plus. In that case, you have to be pragmatic and say, well, this is the world we live in. I'd rather we didn't. I would prefer we lived in a world where in which everyone could say whatever they wanted and not face dire lifestyle repercussions. But in a world where in which one side has decided this is a tool that we're going to use, well, unfortunately, guess what? That tool is now available to everyone. And reciprocity demands that there be some fair and equitable distribution of that tool's use. Now, maybe after we've gotten that out of our system, or they've gotten it out of their system, we'll put it away and say, yeah, you know what? Let's go back to our ideals. Let's go back to our principles. Let's go back to our virtues. And we will simply be a nation, a civilization that values freedom of speech, and is one where in which you could have a group of Jewish lawyers from the ADL passionately defending the right of a out and out legit swastika wearing shaven head neo-Nazi to say horrible things, and they will say, I abhor what you said. I disagree with it in the most vehement terms, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. That's not where we are right now. So, looking at the facts on the ground, do I agree with people being canceled for their opinions? Kinda, yeah. Kinda, yeah. Kinda, I do. Does that make me a hypocrite? It makes me a realist. It makes me a realist. Let's take a gander at some of this stuff here. Now, this is from Arch, from the Archcast, and I've got to play a little bit of this video, and then I'm going to read you a little bit of an article from the Associated Press.
But what about free speech? Mules the left, now that it knows that every single rule, every standard, every law that it itself so eagerly chiseled into stone with which to prosecute its enemies is being turned around against itself.
And we can see that. What has the fallout from the assassination been? It prompted calls for greater civility in the country's political discourse, especially on social media. Now, I'll be completely fair and honest here. I have not seen that at all. I have not seen that from anyone realistically, except for perhaps the Utah governor. That is the only person who I have seen calling for greater civility. Anything that I have seen has been, this is horrible, and, we need to push back on the insane rhetoric that has been coming out, not only not condemning this assassination, but celebrating it. That's what I've seen. Now, I will also say, hey, look, civility, I think the political assassination of a, again, beloved figure who is, a household name at this point, the fact that there are not American cities burning to the ground, I don't see any news reports of cars on fire, of fiery but mostly peaceful protests. I don't see any of that stuff. That says a lot about the people involved. It says a lot about where civility is, who has it, and who doesn't. But many people have made comments about the Kirk. Come on, man. You're a major news organization. You couldn't get an editor to bubble that out? Come on. About Kirk and the shooting that brought consequences, including firings, which is what we're talking about. And to be perfectly honest, yeah, I'm okay with it. MSNBC political analyst Matthew Dowd lost his job shortly after on-air comments about Kirk, one of the first of many figures to experience similar fallout. Welcome to the party, pal. Office Depot said Friday that it fired a worker at a Michigan store who was seen on video refusing to print flyers for a Kirk vigil and calling them propaganda. Okay, so this person's just straight up not doing their job. Like, hey, your job here is to print flyers at Office Depot. I'm not going to do it because it's my political. And I'm like, okay, it seems completely reasonable for you to get fired because you're not willing to do your job. That seems relatively, not even politically motivated. You just decided you're not going to do your job. Several Delta Airlines employees were also suspended after social media posts that went well beyond healthy, respectful debate, CEO Ed Bastian said in a message to the company. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' education commissioner warned teachers in the state that making disgusting, quote, statements about Kirk's assassination could draw sanctions, including the suspension or revocation of their teaching licenses. A conservative internet personality who is embedded with immigration agents in Chicago filmed a video outside Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker's private home in which he urged viewers to take action after Kirk's assassination. Pritzker's office said his security has been increased in recent days. Now, take action. I'm assuming they are mentioning this because this is, and they're just quoting this. They're just quoting take action. I would assume there's probably more context before and after this exact quote, which is going to probably be along the lines of take action peacefully, take action in the voting box. I could be wrong, but I would imagine if he had said take action with, your fists or violence or, some kind of call to action that is prosecutable, they would have mentioned that in this article. So the fact of the matter here is that, again, there have been other people that have said things along the lines of take action, and they were taken by those people to mean enact violence, and they did. The fact that one side is not doing this, again, I really think it does say a lot. The fact that this person was, again, a person that millions of people have some degree of a relationship with, a parasocial relationship perhaps, but a relationship nonetheless, that this person is murdered on screen in an incredibly horrible graphic video that, again, at this point, millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people have seen at this point. And there is the added pathos of it happening in front of his wife and young children. And his young daughter is running to him for comfort because she's scared of the gunshot noise and the screaming. And yet, he cannot offer comfort because he's in the process of dying, if not already dead. The fact that there is not a response of people marching around, like, being understandably, reasonably angered by this. Because this is a person, again, who is much more a part of their lives than, some just random person who is shot in like a police shooting that, is justified or not. The fact that there's not cars being overturned, there's not, stores being bashed up, that there's not, violence in the streets directly after this, as there have been in other scenarios very similar to this, or, even again, way less inflammatory. It says a lot about the values of the people that are involved in this. I think so. I could be wrong, though. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll say farewell for now. Good luck in all your endeavors, and thanks for your time and attention. Yeah. It just does seem very silly to me. I think we might watch the rest of that video, because we are doing that, but let's see what else. Oh, yeah. The Associated Press is fact-checking some of the misinformation around the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Let's see how completely unbiased and accurate these fact checks are. A flood of false and misleading claims filled social media in the 2 days it took officials to arrest and publicly identify 22-year-old Tyler Robinson as a suspect in Wednesday's assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. The reaction followed a well-worn pattern of misinformation and conspiracy theories that often come after breaking news events when facts can be fluid. Those kinds of posts appeared within hours of the shooting, with some of the earliest incorrectly identifying the gunman before officials had released any information about a suspect. More claims spawned on Thursday and Friday, presenting old videos and photos as recent footage of the shooter and erroneously reporting on Robinson's background. Here's a look at the facts. Claim number 1, Robinson is a registered Republican. This is, I will be totally honest, the only false claim that I had actually seen circulating around. And it is a false claim, as they mention. The facts, this is false. He was not. Utah records say Robinson was registered as a voter, but not affiliated with either political party. His voter status is inactive, meaning he did not vote in 2 regular general elections after receiving a notice from his county clerk. According to Utah Governor Spencer Cox, Robinson's family said he had become more political in recent years and had criticized Kirk, mentioning that he was due to appear at an event in Utah. Cox stated that the ammunition found at the scene was engraved with taunting, anti-fascist, and meme culture messaging. Now, I will say, as far as this fact check goes, this is pretty correct. This is pretty good. This is pretty non-biased. I like this. I don't think this is that bad. And it is definitely, for sure, the claim that has had the most play, and I'm glad that they are fact-checking it. If they had not led with this, if this was not, the most unbiased fact check that they presented, this entire article would essentially just be like, if they mention other stuff later, it doesn't matter. They've buried the lead. They've done everything they could to obscure the facts. Second claim, Robinson is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. The facts, this is false. Priscilla Yavarino, spokesperson for the group, confirmed that we have no members in DSA named Tyler Robinson anywhere in the country. Now, I will assume that this person is telling the truth. I don't know. And it also, again, there's lots of ways you could shade extra meaning into this. When they say, we have no members in DSA named Tyler Robinson. Okay, well, what if he went with like a nickname? What if blah, 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 right? But again, let's assume this claim is, saying that this person is not a member of this group. They're not a charter member. That's fine. A photo of a person who bears a resemblance to Robinson wearing a Salt Lake City DSA shirt with the slogan, "Be the Change," has been used to support this claim. Yavarino declined to confirm that person's identity for this person's privacy and safety. Prior to Robinson's arrest, many on social media were quick to assume the shooter was a Democrat, and prominent conservative figures, including President Donald Trump, blamed liberal politics for Kirk's death. Now, is this actually a relevant piece of the fact check of is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America? No, it is not. The fact that it is included makes me think that the person writing this article is trying to add this claim right here to the claim this is false. This is false. That the person was a Democrat and liberal politics were to blame. Now, I think it seems quite clear to me and anyone who has eyeballs and a working brain between their ears that, yeah, liberal politics in here were the culprit. I think that's pretty fair. You could certainly say that the shooter themselves is completely responsible for this as well. Sure, absolutely. This person's crazy. And yet, the reason that they were pointed in a certain direction was because of liberal politics. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think that is a fair claim to make, and I think most people would agree with it. Now, the fact here is that, again, a photo of a person who bears a resemblance to Robinson wearing a Salt Lake City DSA shirt with the slogan "Be the Change" has been used to support this claim. Okay, we're getting no confirmation or denial that this was or was not Robinson. We're not getting any information on that. So it's entirely possible that this person's not a member, but supports the organization. We're not, the person declined to confirm that person's identity for this person's privacy and safety. I'm assuming that, that doesn't really make any sense, because I would assume there's other people with DSA shirts. And if, wearing the DSA shirt is such a danger to that person, then you would not be selling those shirts, right? Because it's an insanely dangerous thing to wear. So this person's privacy and safety, I guess if you were to get, the person's name out there in charge, it doesn't sound like anyone's going after the DSA specifically. I haven't even heard any claims around that people are like really going crazy for the Democratic Socialists of America. This to me seems a bit like an obfuscation. This feels like trying to bob and weave, trying to shift perception away from things. And, you could very easily confirm that this person is not Robinson. Maybe they did in their statement, and it's not mentioned here. I would imagine they would have mentioned it in this fact check if this person had confirmed it's definitely not Tyler Robinson. If they know who it is, we can say, look, we're not going to give you this person's information, but we can confirm with 100% absolute surety that this person is not Robinson. Okay? They basically said, hey, he's not a member. He's not a registered member. But we're not going to tell you the person who looks like Robinson wearing this shirt, because that means that, maybe he's not a member, but he supports this. So this is a little bit of like mixing fact with other things that are not really super relevant. This is a little bit of a muddy the water situation to me, where in which they're saying things that are all technically true in facts, but to say that it's an absolutely false statement that he's a member of the Democratic Socialists of America is probably technically true. I'm gonna believe this Priscilla Yeverino person. But if you were to replace the word member with supporter, then you're not really sure. Then you can't claim that that's false. A video of a man running towards a parking lot shows the shooter escaping. This is false. Again, I hadn't heard this claim, whatever, but the video was filmed on July 28th, more than a month before Kirk was shot, and began spreading before Robinson was arrested. It shows Dakota Halver, The suspected gunman who killed 3 people and injured 3 others at the Grand Sierra Resort in Reno, Nevada, running from the front of the resort in the direction of its front parking lot. Multiple local news networks published the footage after the Reno shooting. However, was shot by police and died in the hospital days later. A video of the misrepresented video included a caption falsely stating, "Video shows Charlie Kirk's real shooter escaping." Yeah, so obviously all false, and I don't know, kind of just there for the views, I'm guessing, because obviously he did escape. I don't see anything else around it. I would imagine that there's potentially kind of like conspiratorial things around it, again, before the guy's arrested. Totally possible. But yeah, this seems all pretty correct to me. The fact that there's so many sources, there's so many links, and the fact that, this is all done super clinically diagnosed. There's no real prosaic language in here that's kind of trying to shade meaning one way or the other. This feels like, yeah, this is a completely good, unbiased, objective fact check. Claim Democrats opposed a moment of prayer for Kirk in the House. The facts, this is misleading, not false. Misleading. Wonder why it would be misleading. On Wednesday, the House observed a moment of prayer for Charlie Kirk and his family at the request of Speaker Mike Johnson. A subsequent request for a moment of prayer out loud elicited vocal objections and chaos on the House floor. Okay, so right here, it basically says that unless the person who elicited vocal objections were not Democrats, it sounds like they did actually oppose a moment of prayer. Now, they're going to explain a little bit more. Footage shows members standing silently for about 30 seconds. Johnson then bangs his gavel, and Representative Lauren Boebert says that silent prayers get silent results before requesting that someone lead a spoken prayer as well. An audible "no" can be heard in response, among other protests. Shouting continues for about a minute, requiring Johnson to bang his gavel and state, "The House will be in order," several times. In the commotion, Johnson also says, "We will join for prayer right after this, okay?" Many posts claiming that Democrats had opposed a moment of prayer for Kirk shared clips that omitted Johnson's initial request and the ensuing silence. So, actually, Democrats opposed a moment of prayer for Kirk in the House. This is misleading. Actually, no, that's true. You've basically said it's true in your fact check here. They did not oppose the first silent moment of prayer, but they did oppose another moment of prayer. So they did oppose a moment of prayer for Kirk in the House. They did. That is true. That is a true claim. It is not misleading. It's that there's more context, but to say that it's misleading means like, this is actually kind of false. No, this is true. They opposed a moment of prayer. That is true. So this fact check is wrong. The shooter was identified as Michael Mallinson and George Zinn. This is false. Yes, that's true. Robinson was named as the suspected shooter on Friday. Others, including Mallinson and Zinn, were misidentified as the shooter as authorities searched for a suspect. Mallinson is a 77-year-old Toronto resident who told the CBC that he found out he had been wrongly accused after waking up from a nap and receiving a panicked call from his daughter telling him to delete his social media accounts. He said that before the shooting, he had never heard of Charlie Kirk. Mallinson bears a resemblance to a man named George Zinn, who was filmed being dragged away, handcuffed, by 2 officers. The videos spread widely on social media after the shooting. The Utah Public Safety Department said in a statement that it initially took in George Zinn as a suspect, but that he was later released and charged with obstruction. The statement said Zinn, as well as a second person who was taken into custody and released after interrogation, has no current ties to the shooting. Again, this, with the amount of detail that it's got, with the relatively clinical language in here, all very reasonable as a fact check. The fact that this, I'm the Michael Mallinson guy, never even heard of him, never heard anything about this, and obviously doesn't seem like he saw any other, repercussions from this whatsoever, other than, a panicked call. The George Zinn guy, you know, did get arrested. I don't remember exactly why. I don't remember. I mean, I do remember the video of that person getting, you know, arrested or hauled off, but I don't know why he was arrested. I don't remember what it was. But the fact of the matter here is that, like, this being before as opposed to being the anchor, this shows that, you know that this is their weakest claim. And in fact, I would say it's wrong. I would say this is an incorrect fact check because the Democrats did oppose a moment of prayer for Kirk in the House. And it's really kind of like a disgusting thing to have done. So the fact that they buried this as opposed to letting it be the final one, this is kind of like the one that you would actually skip the most. If you were reading this article, you'd go, okay, 1, 2, this is good. And then you go down to the last one. That's how a lot of people read articles. They skip a big chunk of the middle and they go right to the end. That's how people read articles. They know that this is how people read articles. This is a well-documented effect. That means that this is probably, you know, intentional on their part. Otherwise, I will say, again, relatively good fact check, other than the one blatantly not correct one here. So what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. Good luck in all your endeavors. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll say farewell for now. Alrighty, on to the actual YouTube videos. I'm going to be watching the rest of this here. Archcast one.
Right-wing cancellation campaigns are now spreading across the internet. We see things like here, for example. We have sent over 300 emails to employers and have gotten 15 confirmed fired now. DC has fired one of its authors. People working for games companies,
I think technically he was an artist, not an author,
have been fired over celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. And the Rolling Stone itself writes an article, people are losing their jobs for criticizing slain free speech.
in quote, free speech. Come on, look at this free speech stuff.
Advocate Charlie Kirk, as if to hold him up even now as a shield. Hey, isn't this one of your principles? Shouldn't we be allowed to say anything, no matter how heinous we want about you? Should we not be allowed to attack you, regardless of any tactics, strategies we so choose? And should you not be forbidden from fighting back?
And again, in terms of actual ideals and principles, yeah, that should be where we're at. We should be doing a world in which, or certainly a country in which, a society, civilization in which freedom of speech is a good ideal that we all hold up and we all recognize the value of. But when one side is very happy, or, you know, a piece of the side of each side's is happy advocating for censorship and then using it, you can't be surprised when the power pendulum swings to the other side is not willing to use the tool that you created and employed against them. You can't be surprised.
No, Rolling Stones. As you yourself said 2 years ago, cancel culture is good. So, fuck your freedom of speech in particular. And your freedom of speech is the important thing here. So, this semi-viral little tweet clearly shows that a chord is being struck with the general populace. And I know why. It is because all in I and the right at large now...
I will say it's because of reciprocity. It's because the fact that, you know, the sort of inborn, I mean, this is like chimp stuff, like chimps have this. The idea of fairness and the desire for fairness and reciprocity in treatment is animalistic. It's so deeply ingrained in us that if we do not have it, we intuitively know it, and it freaks us out. Like, we have to have it, or we know that, you know, the scales have not been balanced, and it eats at us, and we can't deal with it. We have to have it to some degree. It doesn't have to be 100%, you know, 1-to-1 scales are totally 100% balanced. But if you know, one side is completely, totally immune to something, and the other side is totally held accountable for it, at the most extreme, insane degree. That can't stand. It just doesn't work that way.
Appears to be asking for is, in essence, for the same rules to be applied to the left, who have not suffered any consequences of their actions, any consequence of their violent rhetoric, even as they've spent the last 10 years judging the right for lesser grievances and crimes, quote unquote. And I know this because we are now seeing the exact same arguments that my side made 10 years ago bubble up on the left. Things like, for example, oh, you can't hold me responsible for saying this, and that because somebody acted upon it, because, well, I can't be held responsible for the actions of my audience.
And this is kind of where he's perhaps going, is like the fact that people hold these principles, but like principles are fragile things. All right, like they are good for defending and they're good to be defended, but also you can only do it for so long. And eventually the pragmatic, realistic part of you goes, okay, well, this principle's dead. I like this principle. I would like to defend this principle, and I did defend this principle when it cost me. But at a point you'd go, well, this principle, unfortunately, it's dead. I don't want it to be, but it's no longer in existence. We can't have it anymore. And therefore you have to shift and you have to go, all right, well, what's the best I can do? What's the best we can do? And right now right now the sort of reciprocity is kind of the best we could go and say, all right, we're going to use this against you. You're going to get, your licks. We're probably not going to be as rabid and crazy as you were, but you know what? We're going to balance the scales of justice a little bit here. And then later on down the line, we can perhaps actually look back and say, hey, maybe now you want to actually have this principle, right? Yeah. Okay. We don't want to be, destroyed for our opinions anymore. Okay, great. We never wanted that. So now we can actually return to that, right? Yeah, good, cool.
Again, 10 years ago, Pelosi, I might have agreed with you before you spent 10 years ignoring that and only using it when it becomes beneficial for your side.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this a little bit broader, shall we? As the left is now again attempting to hold up our virtues to shield their own heinous actions. You see, communist history videos. I represent no group, no party, just a comrade. All sectors of communism posted without judgment. So a communist account going, I'm all about absolute free speech, no cancel culture, and legal comedy, you snowflake libtard, says the MAGA. And then, fuck Charlie Kirk, rip Bozo lol, I'm calling your employer to cancel you 14 seconds later. Try 14 years. Communist, you have been hiding behind the right-wing virtue of freedom of speech for a decade. But finally, at long last, you have managed to beat that last virtue out of the right.
It's fair. I mean, this is the thing. To say that it's a virtue means that it's like, it should be universal. Everyone would say, you know what, we don't necessarily live up to it, but it is a virtue. It's an ideal to strive towards. However, when some people don't have it, when some people do not see it as a virtue or something that should happen, it becomes much more difficult to defend because, it costs something. Everything in the world, politically or, pragmatically, even just, physically, costs something. It costs something to have it. So the virtue of free speech has benefits. It also has drawbacks. It also has, things that hurt if you're in a society that has that as a virtue. And therefore, defending it costs you something. It really does. It costs you something. And therefore, if not everyone is willing to pay that price, eventually that virtue becomes untenable. It becomes something you can't defend, because if not everyone's willing to do it, well then, one side has such a clear advantage that your side is going to lose. And it's going to lose so much that, that virtue is going to not only be like, unenforced to a, universal degree, it's not going to be there at all. So it's like, all right, well, now unfortunately we have to lower our standards. We can't defend this to the death because we'll just die. And there's no way this virtue will survive our death. So we have to basically just, reallocate resources here and go, look, we do still hold this as a principle and an ideal, but we just can't, we can't focus everything on it. We can't fight this losing war.
You will not be allowed to hold it up to defend your actions any further. You do not hold freedom of speech as a virtue. You don't like it. You don't value it, and you certainly have never and will never defend it. So fuck your freedom of speech yet again. And now that we know that the shooter was indeed a socialist, in all due likelihood radicalized on campus, writing in things like Ciao Bella, a communist anti-fascist guerrilla song used in Italy.
As we saw in that article, he's a socialist. Maybe he's referring to the fact that there's a picture circulating that is allegedly him, but I don't think it's actually him. Let me rephrase. I do not know if it is actually him or not. Where he's got a Democratic Socialists of America shirt on. Could be him. We actually have not had confirmed denial or confirmation that it is him. So right now that's a little bit fluid, but certainly, this guy is, it's not a stretch. It's not even, I don't even think it's controversial to say that this guy's a leftist.
Or things like Catch This Fascist, with a reference to Helldivers 2's 500-kilogram bomb call-in on it. We know why this happened. There is no doubt about it. There's no question. There's no confusion.
There's not.
And then becomes the question, what was he radicalized by? Why has it become so common for left-wing violent rhetoric to be simply accepted? Well, it's because it is simply legal. It is not punished. It is not, well, it's not even reacted to at all. We have, so many examples now, but just to take one quick from Charlie Kirk.
I hate Charlie Kirk. I think he's actually a Satan spawn, but he's very, very strategically minded.
Or on Charlie Kirk, more correctly. This is, of course, destiny. No consequences received from this, none whatsoever. We have another one from literally just a day ago. George Abaronoyi, I think,
I don't know this guy.
who also debated Charlie Kirk once, I do believe,
really?
says Charlie Kirk got shot, let's fucking go.
Oof.
That is his response. That is a person who has also argued quite vehemently things like this.
To effectively create change.
This is, the tweet says, this is incitement to violence. It will be ignored because the offender is a protected member of the diversity is our strength community.
In the world we desire. Inside Prop will argue that at times there is simply nothing else that can be required other than violent retaliation. And this is a view I wholeheartedly agree with. The view that some institutions are too broken, too regressive, too oppressive to be reformed. Like cancers of our society, they must and they should be taken down by any means necessary.
It's that simple. These people are arguing for violence. They're not being roundabout about it. They're not being subtle. They're not being sneaky. They hate you and they want to destroy you. They say it in the most blatant form imaginable. And again, there are no consequences because the rules are not applied
And this is kind of the important part. Yeah, this is the important part.
evenly. Mr. Abaronai's comments are abhorrent. They do not contravene the college's policies on free speech. The right has learned very much.
Yeah, if someone on the other side had said something very similar, then yeah, they would have absolutely been, disciplined.
So at its cost, that it can't say anything
And I can say that because we've got evidence of it. It's happened.
even remotely close to this. The right has gotten very, very good at self-censoring itself to speak and paint within the lines set by social media platforms. Lines simply not observed by our opposition. And there are so many compilation clips going about right now. Everything from the left's talking heads like Hassan.
And I mean, this is the other side where it's like, this is even one of those things where it's like, this person has, is on Twitch, they've got specific rules, they've got terms of service, and the argument that everyone makes for something like Twitch, something like Hassan, is that the rules are not applied equally. They're not applied fairly. They're not applied to everyone. If that were the case, most of these people would have, way less of a leg to stand on. But they are applied unequally.
Piker or Destiny or Vorsh calling for violence in the most explicit terms conceivable. Again, no guile, no subterfuge, simply just calls for violence over and over again. From the politicians as well. Mainline, major name politicians declaring Trump to be a fascist, to be the enemy, that he needs to be attacked, that he needs to be punched. This is how they view all of MAGA. Again, no subterfuge whatsoever. Countless numbers of these compilations right now. It simply has no end to it.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a decade plus of material to go through, of course. So yeah, I mean, there's just an enormous well of content to put up there and go, yep, see.
And it, again, talking heads, politicians, entertainers, all of it from top to bottom that is now once more attempting to use our own arguments to shield their actions.
People don't have any intention of saying something that's going to lead to something dangerous, but we cannot take responsibility for the minds that are out there and how they hear it.
That is, of course, not an argument that the left has ever accepted at any point whatsoever.
Yeah, how many examples can we think of? Oh, hey, Kirsha has someone in their audience that may be like a, I don't know, we'll say a fascist, whatever. Okay, it's just someone in their audience. They can't. Does Kirsha have a responsibility to somehow police the thoughts and views of every single person in their community? No, doesn't seem like it. Does it? Oh, well, apparently yes. Apparently they are supposed to do that. And that's why she got, as much of a pushback as she did. Because apparently, no, you are supposed to do that. You are responsible for everyone in your community, all of their thoughts and all of their opinions.
Speech is violence, we have been told. Even being silent is in fact violence. All forms of rhetoric have now been put on equal footing with physical harm by the left. Apply the left's standard, as this is also the only way in which anything can be corrected right now. And
again, I mean, this is the idea of the reciprocity that I've been talking about. It's like this, that's what this is. It's it's unfortunate that we're at that point, but it's like that is kind of what that is what it is going to take to kind of get back to some degree of actual normality. You can't put one side in the deficit for that long and expect them to just go, okay, well, we'll just stay there. It doesn't work like that.
Consequences must arrive for the left. Its speaking heads must experience what the right has been experiencing for the last 10 years. As you know what? The censorship of the right has in fact worked. when you are not allowed to speak, to verbalize threats, you won't make them. Perhaps that is in fact for the better in our current day extraordinarily divisive situation.
Right.
Ideally speaking, we would eventually be able to arrive back to an era of complete free speech. We would all prefer to go back to the 90s, 2000s, where you could say pretty much anything you wanted
That'd be what I
have it
like.
defended. I disagree with you, but I will defend to the death your right to say it.
Yeah. And I mean, literally the organization that said that, if I'm not mistaken, it's the ADL. Defending literal neo-Nazi. And I believe they were all the lawyers in there were Jewish. And they actually had that sentiment. The ADL does not do that now. The ADL has not done that for a while now. They have not held up that principle.
But to do that, we must first be on an equal footing. We cannot have this be a unilateral thing anymore, where the left always places the blame on the right. You must de-escalate, right?
I mean, this is kind of the idea of, like, a deterrent, like a nuclear deterrent. If only one nation has nuclear weapons, it's kind of like, it's very unfair. Every other country feels very, very, very uncomfortable because they're at such a massive disadvantage that they know they can be taken advantage of over anything and everything, because they can go, oh yeah, hey, say that. I was like, okay, sanction me with your nukes. Oh, you're gonna sanction me? Sanction me with your army. Sanction me with your nuclear war. No, it's not there. The second that you have, some degree of, reciprocity, you have some degree of fairness, you have some degree of equal distribution of force across the playing field, then you'd go, okay, you know what? I understand that if I up the ante and I start projecting that kind of force, you have the ability to do the same to me. And you know what? I don't want that pointed my way. Even if I think I could win, I just don't want to risk losing. So I won't do it. I won't push it. That's a very reasonable take, I think.
You must bring down the temperature. No, when the left is being punished, that is what will bring down the temperature. When the consequences, when the firings impact the left wing, when they are swept from academia, swept from gaming companies, from the public, from social media and video sharing platforms, then the temperature will sink. It is that simple. And even on the Stamford Bridge, last Stamford Bridge just a few days ago, I then said 2014 Arch would have a lot of problems with this. He wouldn't like this. To which Sargon quite succinctly responded by simply stating that 2014 Arch is gone. And he is. He was removed by the left. They were the ones who took that away from us. Once more, this has been a right-wing virtue, that the left has worked extraordinarily hard to beat out of us, and we still
certainly beat out of society, first and foremost, absolutely. And then you have to live in that society, and you have to go, okay, well, can I enforce this freedom of speech stuff? And you'd go, okay, if half of the people go, no, you can't. You'd go, okay, well then, if it can't be applied universally, then it can't be applied. This is a universal virtue. It's freedom of speech. It's not, I think you should be able to say whatever you want, but I can't say anything. It's like, no. It's everybody. It either applies to everybody or nobody. You said no, we're not doing that. We're not playing by those rules. And it's like, okay, well, if you're not going to, then we can't have it then, because it has to be applied to everyone. If you won't apply it, then we can't. It's a universal virtue. We still hold it. We'd like it. We'd like it to be there. We want to push for a, world in which it exists. But if you're not going to abide by those rules, then we're not going to play that game. We're just not doing it anymore.
Still would like to cling to it. We still would like to keep free speech as a core, central liberty for all human beings. but it cannot continue to exist if only one side recognizes it, if only one side values it. And the temperature will not go down until it has been made clear that radicalization and radicalizing language is not accepted on either side.
Or both sides agree that it's fine. Both sides agree it's just words. Words are not violence. Words are not things that need to be policed. They are simply words and ideas, and the free exchange of word and ideas is a good thing to have in an open, liberal, free society.
The left has finally managed to drag the right kicking and screaming to this position. And I hope, dearly so, that it will finally be enforced. And there does appear to be movement in that direction, as people simply aren't taking this anymore. It is simply not being tolerated anymore, and that is a damn good thing. Until next time, I have been Arch. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope
You're welcome.
to see you all again soon.
Yes, I hope so too, buddy. Thanks a bunch. All right, so let's go ahead. We'll do something else after this. Let's see. I know every single one of my tabs is about this Charlie Kirk shit. And we have to basically just get into it because unfortunately that is the news of the day. It's the news of the week. It's probably going to be the news of the month and the year. Eventually we'll be able to get into other stuff. And obviously, look, yesterday I played video games. Didn't mention Charlie Kirk or politics or anything at all. Didn't mention it once. Was just playing a game, having fun with it. We're good. We're cool. But today, unfortunately, look, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be watching some videos. What were we going to watch? Well, this is the stuff that showed up. So this is the stuff that, unfortunately, we've got to look into. All right. The Moist Critical. I'm going to look into this one. I want to check this Metatron stuff. We need to talk about Hasan Piker. What's Hasan?
Today we need to talk about a very popular content creator and streamer by the name of Hasan Piker, who is the world's second most popular political commentator. In the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination, we need to take some time to reflect on the words and in fact direct call to actions that have been allowed to be spoken freely on our social media platforms, regardless of the fact that they broke not only multiple terms of service, which exposes a double standard, but the very basic fibers of dignity and decency. I will present to you a few clips that have been put together by fellow content creators who are exposing his diabolical takes, but ironically, I might end up being demonetized or censored because of his words on my channel.
Yeah.
His own words did not.
I mean, that's definitely happened a lot.
Not get him demonetized or banned on his platforms. This isn't 2-tier justice, this is 15-tier justice. I'm still making the video. Before I jump into the actual clips and you see what I'm talking about, and if you haven't seen it, take a Valium. But before we jump into that, there is one take that I want to address, a take that has been rather popular these days on social media.
You get Valium anymore?
So here it is, the take, open quotes. The only person...
I need to actually double check what that is. What is Valium? I want to say it's a benzodiazepine, but I'm not sure. It is a diazepam. Okay. So it is. Now, is this technically a benzodiazepine? It is. Benzodiazepine. It is. Gotcha. So that is just, it's just a straight diazepam.
The person responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk is the shooter because he's the one who pulled the trigger.
Yep.
Close quotes. Nonsense. People who call for violence and incite violence are also responsible, and the blood of Kirk is on their hands too. And let me show you that you actually agree with me. Let's try to apply this to test its inner logical consistency. Is Hitler responsible for the millions of deaths he caused? I mean, he didn't literally pull the trigger, he only used words and incited his sick followers. But technically, it was his followers who actually did the killing. So, are we not going to blame the man who had the influence and gave the orders, who made the public speeches?
Yeah, I mean, these sort of logical arguments are so easily applied to this specific instance. you know, oh, hey, you know, like if someone is like, all right, well, you know what? Charlie Kirk kind of like, you know, he was asking for it. He incited this. Okay, so why? I was like, well, I mean, the things he said were like really hurtful. They were really dangerous. They really impacted the lives and identities of other people. Okay, so Martin Luther King deserved it too, then, right? Because Martin Luther King said stuff that was, you know, politically divisive. He said things that were certainly dangerous in the sense that, you know, they attacked people's identities, the way that they view the world. It imparted an enormous amount of cognitive dissonance to certain people. And if that's the benchmark for inciting violence against you, oh yeah, he was asking for it. Okay, then Martin Luther King, like Gandhi, go down the list of people that have been assassinated. They've all apparently then deserved it and incited it, and you know it's their own fault. They should have known better. They were asking for it. Yeah, you can't do it. It's just it doesn't work.
Is he not responsible now? Because, well, he technically didn't pull the trigger, so... Yeah, I didn't think so. In the age of information, during the continuous uprise of technological addiction, violent rhetoric is not just in the hands of political tyrants making public speeches in plazas and city squares. The rhetoric and its call to action is now spread through TikTok. Social media is the new city plaza, and this power is now wielded by a multitude of chronically online narcissists who have become rich and popular overnight and do not understand the severity of the responsibility they have towards the millions of...
It's not only that they're incentivized to be as crazy as possible, because that, you know, the more extreme and extroverted and wild the claim and the way in which you claim it results in, you know, increased popularity and spread.
People they influence, or do they? Or does he? Words have power, particularly in a politically inflamed context. And we cannot detach responsibility from those who speak violence and incite those who physically commit said violence. As of the making of this video, there are tens of thousands of calls to action right now. People are asking for Kirk's wife to be next.
Oof.
Do Asmongold next, they say. There need to be consequences for direct incitement to violence and threats online. There have to be legal consequences.
There should be.
And personally, I don't care who says it towards who. In the last few days, we have seen a monumental amount of tolerant liberals celebrate and laugh at the death of a father, a husband, drawing cartoons where you can see his throat explode with blood. You've seen these kids on TikTok laughing like little miserable demons, chanting "We got Charlie on the neck" multiple times as there are a few girls in the background laughing and giggling. These people are disgusting. Now, I know that if you're a right-winger watching this, or a centrist, or a moderate, you already don't want to have anything to do with these people. But I beg you, if you are one of my left-wing subscribers, please call them out. Show us who the good lefties are versus the bad lefties. Do not find a justification. Don't try to say yes, but show us you're decent, because the others, it's full mask off. And we will call out each and every single one of them, faces on the screen for the world to see. But of course, for moral consistency, I will say that if someone on the right now starts to say, now makes a TikTok and starts to say, we need to retaliate and off this influencer on the left, no. There need to be legal consequences for each threats of violence.
And I'm going to make a prediction that I could easily be proven wrong on this, and I'm happy to, you know, I don't want to say I'm happy to be proven wrong because it's a horrible prediction, but my guess is it's not going to happen. Because the right is already aware that, yeah, you know, if they say they're going to get yeeted immediately, any of those people, they're going to be completely aware that, you know, if they were to say something like that, it's done, it's over, they're out. And I don't think you're going to see it. I could be wrong. I hope I'm not wrong. I hope I'm not wrong on that. But, you know, I don't think you're going to see it, which is good. I'm glad that, you know, you're not going to see it. And again, I hope I'm right there.
Stop trying to off each other, for crying out loud. After I'm done with Pyke and Nexus Destiny,
Ooh,
Let's proceed in order. Before I
Good.
show you what he said, there is one thing you don't know that I would like you to know. 3 days ago was the scheduled launch date for my new merch. A pendant that took us 6 months to create, but I suspended the merch campaign because I wanted to make videos about Charlie Kirk's assassination, but I didn't feel right in my conscience to continue the planned integrations
Yeah.
and post them on every video for a week as we had intended.
Right.
So I completely blocked the campaign even though we had started 3 days ago, and I did not put any integration nor mention to my new merch on the videos that I made about Charlie Kirk because it felt inappropriate.
yeah.
Even though I knew that those videos were going to get hundreds of thousands of views, I didn't feel right about it,
Yeah.
and I stopped. However, this video,
Very
as I said,
decent.
might get demonetized. So I am gonna put my merch on this video because it's a video about Piker. To counter that, I'm gonna show you
Oof.
the new beautiful pendant right now. If you're not interested, feel free to skip it. But if you do want to support me, regardless of any possible backlash or
You know-
demonetization for speaking the truth and being honest about this,
I don't know. I mean, you know what? I like this guy. We'll watch it. If it gets boring, I'll skip it. But to be honest, yeah, I do want to support this. This
please
feels
consider
like a
ordering a pendant. It would mean the world to me,
Very
and I would really appreciate your support. Proudly presenting the pendant of the Noble One. Look at this beauty. Original custom design created by me in collaboration with Viking Jewelry. And it's
Very
my way
cool.
to celebrate all of you because, as you know, I've been calling you Noble Ones for the last 12 years. Well, this is indeed the pendant of you, the Noble Ones, who are the
156.
Custos Veritatis, written here in Latin, and it means keeper of truth, because that's the only thing
Ooh.
that matters, the truth, whether it offends them or not. So, available in both silver and bronze. I think my favorite is the bronze one, but they're both
Oh, the
great.
bronze.
And
Okay.
this can be bought as a set, as we offer the original ring of the Noble One, available in silver, bronze, and gold. The bracelet of the Noble One,
The bronze does look really cool.
silent oath of truth,
Actually.
and a more low-profile version of the ring for those who prefer something a little thinner, which we offer also in bronze, silver.
No, go big or go home. I'm not as much of a fan of that. Let me check this stuff.
Thank you to my haters for supporting my work. I'm a man who likes to admit his biases and be transparent and 100% clear, because when I do that,
That was a
then
nice,
if what
cute,
I'm saying is based on a bias,
super fast
and then I
ad.
do
I
want
like
you
it.
guys to call me out, because all I care about is the truth. And I'll be honest with you right now, I
Mm-hmm.
do not like Hassan Piker. I haven't liked him ever since I found out that he said the likes of America deserved 9/11,
Yeah,
which,
not a good look.
regardless of your political takes, I find to be a distasteful statement to make, considering
Mm-hmm.
that the people who died during 9/11 were not soldiers. They were just
Yep.
regular people that were going their jobs. They were someone's father, wife, husband, children. So
Hmm.
that already, as far as I'm concerned, put him in this
I'm just looking at this one little. Let's see if you can see it. Hassan Piker on Charlie Kirk and the need for radical empathy. Is this from Hassan Piker? It's interesting that now we want empathy.
guy's bad list.
You know, now that it looks like, you know, you're going to taste a little bit of repercussions for the things that you said.
Now, this is something he said
Hmm.
years ago, I believe. Therefore, I'm always ready for someone to have a redemption arc, but what it seems is that he actually went further down the rabbit hole.
Seems
I
like it.
watched his video reaction to what happened to Charlie Kirk, and in fact, he fooled me at first, in the sense that I thought when I saw him being distressed for Charlie's death, and he was not laughing about it like the other monsters are, and he was instead being like, oh my gosh, oh my lord, what is happening? No, this
I think that was the last thing that I'd seen about him. Was it was like, all right, at the very least, he's doing the sort of the Gavin Newsom thing of like, you know, he understands that long term, politically speaking, you know, you have to disavow it. You have to, because the vast majority of people are like, yeah, no, like this is wrong. This is horrible.
don't laugh about it to his own audience. You know, at first I thought, oh, maybe this guy is getting points with me because I'm not a tribalistic individual. If someone says something right,
I can
don't
say the same
care
thing.
what politics they have. I will admit it, but I was wrong. He was acting out. How do I know that?
Okay, let's
Well,
see
I
it. Yeah.
responded to Tectone recently, who was complaining about the sun. He's only saying that now because he's scared this could happen to him. Why am I saying this? What is my proof of this? Why did I change my
I think
mind?
that is
Even though
fair.
at first I was like, you know what, maybe
That was, yeah, no, I will say that was my kind of view on it initially, which was he's doing this because he's scared. But difference there is like, all right, well, at least that person could be trained. That person's like potentially a trainable member of society, like very much acting in their own interest 100%. And therefore, if the society is set up correctly to harness that, they can be productive, reasonable, safe members of society. The people that are celebrating it and that are posting it and are laughing about it and are very happy to publicly act like demons, I'm like, okay, like you can't, like you don't get it. You don't get that there is a way you need to comport yourself in society, and you cannot even be trained. You can't even be confined by society. So therefore, like society has to confine you somehow.
He's being decent on this one.
Like this would be the thing of like, what is it? I forget what Asmund Gold was saying, but he was like, okay, there's like, I'm going to say 1% of people that are like, just need to be constantly in prison or an asylum because they are just, they're menaces to society. They can never be contained, and therefore, they have to just be removed from society because they're just a danger to it. They are a destabilizing element 100% of the time, and you can never deal with this.
And for once, because I found this. Watch. Since I have to try and defend my platform, I'm cutting out some main words. Look at the screen though. And for the full version, come check out my Twitter, link in the description.
I'm sick and tired of it. Left-wingers, liberals, you need to be fucking showing your opponents on there,
yeah,
okay?
I've seen this too.
You need to be shanking
Not
these
good.
motherfuckers and letting their intestines just ride on stage. What the is this shit, man?
Pretty.
What the is this? You cannot have a bigger layup. You could not have had a bigger layup than a horrible candidate like Herschel Walker. Sure, he was prepared very well, and Herschel Walker actually had a good
monetized on social media. Did he get banned? Why does he still have a platform? Do you think that's over? Well, that's not all of it. There is more.
No, there's a
poor
lot.
people that they can afford housing in Berkeley. I don't know how that works.
My understanding is that the property owners who have properties there choose just not to rent it at all.
Yeah, those motherfuckers in the street. Let the streets soak in their fucking red capitalist. Dude.
Right.
We've all heard that one.
He hates red capitalist blood, yet he's a wealthy millionaire. He's dressed
ridiculous.
in red capitalist money. And let me tell you this. I despise your wealth, Piker. Because it's blood money.
It is.
And I made a post.
It really is. It really is. You are stealing money from impressionable children a lot of times. And you're just, you're using it in the most, again, just bourgeoisie, disgusting way of like buying yourself luxuries that none of your peasants can afford, your serfs that you are, squeezing for all they're worth. They can't afford any of that stuff. And you're just happy to splurge on that stuff. You're like, I deserve it. I'm good with this. It is the height of hypocrisy. And I don't even know if it's hypocrisy. I think he's literally just like, no, I don't care. He's just, he's just out for himself.
Post about this on my Twitter, and someone came to defend him and said, you're taking him out of context when he said X, one of these, and or the multitude others that he did. In that case, he didn't mean conservatives, he actually meant Democrats. Oh, so that makes it better? You absolute moron. That makes it better?
Yeah.
No one should be I don't care. I don't care who is direct. That's beyond the point. It is one of the few cases where context does not matter. And by the way, if after he makes a call to action, then he pauses for a moment and says, in Minecraft.
His favorite words, apparently.
Just read what his chat says. This guy, let's put, if you really like the context, let's present this context.
And that is the full context. Like, how are people taking it? They're taking it to mean what he's saying.
Then, who is he streaming to? 15 housewife and the local parish man? He has tens of thousands, sometimes 50,000 people who watch him, and a huge chunk of those are radical, and he knows it. Now, there is one more section that I'm not going to show, and I'll tell you why, where it looks like, in this screenshot, that he specifically said, someone needs to do Charlie Kirk. The reason why I'm not showing that on screen is because I found it only as a screenshot, and those can be altered. So, stuff that I can actually...
I want to say I have also seen or heard something along those lines, but yeah, I don't want to claim that 100% for sure that it is the case.
Hear him say on video? Yeah. But something that I cannot corroborate because it could have been faked, I'm not going to use, so I'm not going to show it. However, the reason why I'm even mentioning it is because the FBI should look into that. Because if it's false and it's someone on the right who is trying to pin something he didn't say on him, then ignore it. But look at the other stuff. But if it is true that he said this, I'm not a lawyer, but isn't that like accessory to murder at this point?
At some point, I think.
I don't know.
There's definitely something to be said for it.
Here is what I say.
I mean, I think if you could connect, the guy who did it, the assassin, to, Hassan's community, you could maybe make an argument for it, yeah.
I call for Hassan Piker to be deplatformed. I think he should be permanently banned, not on his day off.
I would agree.
He should be permanently banned from both Twitch and YouTube, not because of his political ideas.
Of course not.
He's free to have those.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But because of the calls to action, that's crossing.
Which he has made, and he's made them many, many times, and they are very clear.
And what happened to Charlie Kirk and any other victim of political violence is a confirmation that we cannot allow people with huge influence to have no repercussion to their calls to action. Not anymore. And before anyone tries to bring up the freedom of speech, I am a supporter of freedom of speech. But freedom of speech in this beautiful country that is the United States of America is based on the First Amendment of the Constitution. I'm not an American, but I do know that one. And the First Amendment does not protect everything. And one of the things it doesn't protect is precisely this.
Yeah.
Calls for
violence. There are absolutely
incitement
laws.
to violence.
There are absolutely laws very specific for that.
Telling your followers where someone lives and send them there and tell them someone needs to do something. Like, you can't do that. It's not protected speech. It shouldn't be protected speech. And let me tell you why. If you are thinking, yeah, but I still think it's his right to do it because I'm a free speech absolutist. Okay, so...
I don't think there's a lot of people like that anymore. I think most of those people have come over to a place where I'm at, which is like, free speech is a universal value, and therefore it has to be applied universally. If one side has decided, nope, we don't hold that value anymore, it's not for us anymore, we're not going to do it, well, then it can't be applied universally, so then it's not a value that's possible anymore. So until you get to a place where it can be, applied universally, you're in a society where it's like, no, it's the best you can do is apply censorship equally.
So what if, because of a post you make on social media that someone like him doesn't like, they're going to find who you are and they're going to make a call to action for violence towards your husband, your wife, your children in retaliation? Are you going to say, no, I don't want anyone to do that. I don't want the video taken down because it's his freedom of speech? Didn't think so. A good way to test whether or not we're being fair or not is to try and apply whatever we think is okay to our loved ones. And once you do that, you will see the errors of your way. You will understand, and that's not because you're a bad person. It's because we are hardwired to first care about our own, then our tribes, since the Paleolithic probably, then all the rest.
Heat map, though.
But this is a matter of justice, civility, decency, and humanity. And we can share that even if we disagree on politics, religion, and social ideas. Next, I want to see his uncle condemning But I'll make a dedicated video about that.
Yeah, I want to see. I don't think he's done one. He said he was going to do
Hello,
Destiny
number one
next.
spot.
I don't think he's done it. I don't think he's done it yet. No, he hasn't. So we'll get that one later. We'll get that one later. All right. What are some other ones? I want to check this one. This is one that I was trying to find Moist Critical Charlie's video on this, but I couldn't find it. This is the one that I found closest to it. I don't think this is the same video, though.
I think the assassination of Charlie Kirk, everything that happened here is fucking horrible. I think it is horrific. Awful. I think it is terrible. And I'm aware that some people have been celebrating this. I find that to be fucking disgusting.
I mean, what do people expect from Charlie? He's going to have like the most safe take imaginable, the most corporate sanitized take on every single issue.
Fair.
Hey guys, I don't know how many of you are aware, but there was a debate scheduled between Hassan Piker and Charlie Kirk in 2 weeks. And I was very invested into that. I wanted to see it for myself. But
the impression is way too good.
I understand that Charlie isn't going to make it. He got assassinated by the tolerant left, and some people were cheering that it happened.
Okay, can we just appreciate the impression? Really good.
And I want to say that is awful. That is horrible, disgusting. I will use some curse words now just to show how outraged I am. But anyway, that's about.
This is what you're going to get. I'm not saying it's bad, by the way. You know, like it's a normie take for normies that just want to know what's happening in the news and have their opinions reflected that dumb. But to have like people spurg out at him for it, like what do you expect? You know, I would never expect Charlie to come on and like strongly support my side.
Right.
Why? Because again, like he's going to have the most safe, most acceptable opinion.
Yeah, it's you know, he's shooting for the middle. He's trying to not alienate anybody.
Ever.
Yeah.
It's what he does. And I gotta say, you know, like, thank you for the left, I suppose. Like, if you want to look unhinged, if you want normies to, like, genuinely be afraid of you, and that's not a good thing, by the way. Not the good type of fear, you know, like afraid of working with you, afraid of hiring you, afraid of doing business with a company where you're in because, like, you're acting as if you're going after moderates. That's what it is. And a lot of people have said the moderate right wing has died with Charlie Kirk. And the people that just want to talk, the message is that if you open your mouth, not only do you get shot, and I know the left is saying, well, it was just like one guy. It was just one guy. It's like, yeah, it was one guy. And then I went on Reddit, and then I went on Blue Sky, and then I went into the comment section of Charlie here, and I'm seeing that there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys with their faces that are public. They're teachers, they're journalists, they're game developers, they're voice actors, and all of them are cheering, that they're celebrating this. And when you have like...
Is he wrong? Is that not happening? Pretty sure that's happening. Pretty sure that is definitely the case. Which is not a good look.
The most basic bitch take imaginable, which literally, like, your mom probably has. Let's be honest, right? Like, no, most normal people, when they see a guy getting assassinated and their little girl is there, are going to be horrified. It doesn't matter who the guy was. It doesn't matter what they said. Unless the guy was, like, rallying a militia or something, most people are going to be horrified. And your reaction is to attack Charlie for having this take, right? What would your mother think? No, like, seriously, can we start asking this question? If people are going to behave like children, when can we start asking, like, what would their parents think? Is this how you're being raised? Because I guarantee to you, your parents have the exact same take. Like, most people aren't terminally online on Twitter to the point where they lost their humanity and they see, like, a guy getting shot and the immediate thing is to glorify it and saying that, oh yeah, well, more needs to happen. It's like, well, there's no platform for fascists, no more discussion.
Majority.
It's like, okay, you don't want discussion. That's fine. That's fine. I seen right-wingers now that were for free speech last week acting like Karens this week. having like entire documents of people that glorify this and then like starting calling their workplace and engaging in the exact same cancel culture that the left has engaged for a week. And you can't say that they don't have a point because like you made it absolutely clear, you know, like that they believe, that I believe, that everyone believed on the center that there is room for talks and there is room for discussion. But what you're making it absolutely clear is that no, there is no more room for discussion.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of part of the thing here is that, you know, you just do have a degree of people that are just like, it's just not, you can't live with them around. Maybe they're crazy. Maybe they're, you know, violent. They don't have a soul. They don't have, you know, something's wrong with them and they just can't be part of society. And, you know, if getting them fired is the way to do it, then, you know, that's the way to do it. But yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, it's not good.
And as such, you know, justify to those people that you don't want to discuss with, why should they spend their money on a company that hires leftists? Oh yeah, sure, it's a video game, it's a movie, yeah, but is it worth it though? Like, can you not live without that video game or that movie if you're hiring people that genuinely believe that the other side is not even worthy of discussing? And if they open their mouth, well, what happened to Charlie Kirk apparently is what you think should happen to all of them. I mean, it's beyond insane. Moist Critical is not the guy for me for the same reason why Charlie Kirk wasn't the guy for me. They're some of the most moderates you can find out there.
That's fair.
Their takes.
I feel like that, I mean, again, that seems completely correct to me.
Are normie takes that I already knew. You know, like, I already understand what they're saying. And so to see that being targeted is insane. Because if that's the take, then it means that everyone else that's even a little bit more right or at the same level as Moist Critical or Charlie should have the same even happening to them, right? I mean, look at this madness. This is literally on Twitter right now, right?
Okay.
You have people that are basically saying, oh yeah, well, what happened to Charlie isn't enough. Like, we should do it to their entire family. This is the insanity that we're dealing with. And again, I
very possibly literally. Very possibly in a literal sense. Like, these are people that are just legitimately outside of reality. Mentally speaking. You know, like they need to be on medication. They need to be forced to take it, or they need to be policed 24/7.
See other people going, well, no, because the shooter was a conservative. He was a great pair. I don't care if he was an industrial accident, to be honest. It was complete mask off on people that call themselves left-wing, that call themselves tolerant and compassionate. Well, actually, they don't even call themselves that anymore, do they? Like, if you go on Blue Sky and you look for the word tolerance, it's completely missing from their vocabulary, isn't it?
I haven't seen it. Yeah.
The same thing for all the other attributes. They don't even preach equality anymore. They don't even preach anything. It's just like an ideology of pure spite and pure hatred towards anyone that's not like them. You know, that's actually a good question. In 2025, what exactly does the left champion? No, seriously, like, can we take a pause and answer this?
Yeah, for real. Let's actually think. I mean, like Palestine. I guess identity stuff. Tax. Well, I was gonna say tax the rich. That's, I mean, maybe parts of the left. Yeah, like politically speaking, no. Maybe culturally speaking, like, you know, far left. Yeah, okay, we could maybe say that.
This question, because it used to be, you know, they would champion equality, or they would champion equity.
Yeah, that's not true.
Or they would champion tolerance. What are they?
Yeah, that's definitely not true. In terms, yeah, I mean, I was trying to think of like, what do they do? And I got like groups. Yeah, in terms of like large overarching principles, ideals, I can't think of any.
Championing now. Notice how none of these words exist anymore. It's just hatred. That's what they're championing. Just pure spite, you know, pure hatred. They don't have even an ideology anymore. They're not even coherent.
That's, yeah.
They look at what's on the television, and if the television...
That's what I'm saying, yeah. It's like, so, yeah, I mean, he mentioned, like, you know, like equality, tolerance, equity, that type of stuff. Yeah, the things I was thinking of were like groups, initiatives. Yeah, they've become something that's more of just a political strategy as opposed to a group that has like principles and they're trying to advance those principles. It's like no, they're just a group trying to advance the group.
Tells them something, they do that, and that's it. It's like the ideology of the marching order.
Yep, like I said.
And that's fine, if you want to live like that, go in blue sky, do whatever you want. Like, no one is coming in, respect your pronouns and shit. But, like, why do we have to deal with that? Why do you come into our turf and harass poor boys critical here? What the fuck did he do? Oh, my goodness, he had an opinion. Yeah, oh, well, Charlie Kirk had opinions. Yeah, no, we're getting the memo.
We got it.
Jesus. The thing is, like...
Not good.
I'm actually a person that still believes in free speech, even after all of this, although I have resetted my arguments a little bit. I believe free speech for everyone, except for the people that use the word ban and censorship. If you
I can see that, yeah.
use ban and censorship, I don't care if you're right-wing, I don't care if you're left-wing, I personally find you despicable. I don't care what other people say or what other people think, and I know I'm in the minority. Like, I know that my mindset is not going to appeal to a lot of individuals, but it is what it is,
I don't know. I think he's actually, I think he might be underestimating the appeal of that. I think most people are probably not using those specific terms, like, ban, censorship, those things. I don't know if most people are in that same vein in terms of the terminology used, but I think most people at this point are like, they have intuitively understood that freedom of speech as a value is one that it's inherently universal, and it can only be applied universally. If it is applied selectively, if it only applies to certain groups, it's not freedom of speech anymore. You don't have it anymore. You have, punishment for certain kinds. You have censorship. It's just applied, towards one group specifically, perhaps. So if you don't have a universal acceptance or reliance or application of freedom of speech, then you don't have freedom of speech. And therefore you have to go, okay, well, I would like it to be that. I would like it to be there. But if we're talking about practicalities, how do we enforce this? How do we live our lives? Well, if we live in a society where we don't have the ability to have universal freedom of speech, well then, we the best we can do is like, censor fairly, apply, the rules to everybody. And then maybe you'd get closer to a society where you actually could have freedom of speech, because now the tools of censorship and banning and these types of things are on both sides. So there's like a deterrence. There's a deterrence. If you start using these tools against us, well, we'll just start using them against you. Okay, well, I don't want them to be turned against me, therefore I won't use them. It's the same thing with kind of like a nuclear deterrent.
Hopefully one day. The only exception, though, is if you're using the word ban on censor towards someone else that wants to ban and censor. Okay? Like, that is self-defense. It's kind of like, it's not okay to do violence unless it's about defending yourself, right? Like, that's acceptable in my worldview.
That's actually a very good analogy. It's self-defense. Like, yeah, you shouldn't ever hurt somebody else. Absolutely, totally true. But in terms of self-defense, you go, okay, well, that's a completely different deal.
Unfortunately,
very good analogy.
Ever since Charlie Kirk has passed away, my worldview is in a very small and fringe minority. And I can't blame right-wingers that are now going after the left after decades of suffering humiliation. Like, motherfucker, you can't even play a video game right now without having the company listen into your messages, have moderators up your ass, and the moment you say some banter, the moment you do some joke, if you're not getting banned, you have like some angry Twitch streamer that has her ego broken because you insulted her, takes that clip and shows it to her whole audience, so you get her ass for a week. And she even insists that you get banned, right?
Yeah.
And that's just video games. Like, you go on social media, you see people getting banned from memes. It's insane, right?
Or arrested if you're in the UK. Good luck to you.
So, like, people have lived like this for 2 decades, and they're like, well, I just want to talk. I believe in free speech, blah, 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 blah. And then you see the people that created the system of oppression on your ass, a system that didn't exist before 2016, mind you. And they will say, well, it's not a big deal. What if it's not a big deal? Why did you make it?
2016. Yeah.
And so you
About
have
right.
those people acting like the most unhinged lunatics ever possibly imagined. Harassing Moist Critical out of all people. I'm not saying Moist Critical is above harassment, you know, because again, it seems like I'm defending him. I'm pretty sure he's into controversies and he did shit that I don't know and I don't fucking care.
Maybe,
at this
I don't
moment.
know.
But he's getting harassed because why? Because he has like the most average take that probably my mom would have about Charlie Kirk. And
Right.
he doesn't like seeing a guy getting shot. And then he makes a video and adding some curse words and it's like, yeah, I don't like this. And if you did that, blah, 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 blah. And that's what it takes now?
Mm.
Like, look, I understand you're part of an ideology, if you're on the left, that wants every single person on planet Earth, every single human being to believe like you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's fine, but at least make sure you don't have beliefs that are in alignment with the mental asylum. Because, like, other people out of this say, no, like, most people don't like to see human beings getting shot. I know it's controversial,
Seems
for the
reasonable.
left, but it is what it is. Leave Moist Critical alone. Let me know what you think. I'll see you in the comment section.
Oof. Yeah. All right, so this is, I was trying to find the actual full video that apparently Charlie put up, but this is the only one that I could find. I guess, like, let me look. Let me see if he reposted it. Maybe it was somewhere else. I didn't see it. Yeah, like, this is the other one. This is the one that we have up here called the suspected shooter. And then that's it. I don't see any of these other ones. So he must have gotten, the comments must have been so bananas and crazy that he, you know, deleted or privated the video. Or maybe it was on some other, again, I went on his Twitter. I tried to find it on his Twitter. Couldn't find it. Maybe it's somewhere else. But my guess is the comments were just that crazy that he got rid of it. I'm not on, you can't see it, but I'm not on restricted mode. My face is blocking it. Yeah, I'm not on. Let me show you. Not on restricted mode. Restricted mode is off. So it's not that. So I can't find the video. So he must have like gotten rid of it. That's crazy.
Apple night again for the second time this week already.
Uh-huh.
Insomnia is absolutely bending me over. Now that I've turned 31, all of a sudden I've unlocked the superpower of insomnia.
Adorable.
And while I've been up, I've just been digesting things, learning things about like aliens and geodes because of like the life on Mars rock. And while I was perusing that, I saw the breaking news that they caught the man responsible for the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
This is what?
This is 22.
This is 2 days ago? This is 2 days ago.
Year-old Tyler Robinson, and I'm pretty sure they actually got the shooter this time. In the beginning, there was a lot of hoopla because they brought in like 2 octogenarians claiming that it could be the shooter. It wasn't. This time, though, they absolutely got the right guy. He is definitely the shooter.
Yeah.
He was turned in by his father. I'm pretty confident I don't need to explain what happened. I imagine all of you are familiar with it by now, but just in case.
Okay. So yes, this is clearly not that video that he had up. So where he says, hey, it was not good. I wonder if he's going to mention anything about like, you know, the comments he got. Because that was definitely before.
Charlie Kirk was on a college campus in Utah where he was inviting the audience to debate him on a variety of topics. And while doing that, he was shot in the neck and he died. It is fucking terrible.
Okay.
The videos are sickening. They are very gruesome. I don't recommend watching them.
Yeah, I agree.
The gunman, now ID'd as Tyler Robinson, was positioned roughly like 200 yards away on top of a building. And he escaped for a little while. He jumped off the building. We have footage of all of this.
If it hadn't been, and this is the other thing, if it hadn't been for his dad turning him in, very possible he would have stayed, you know, at large for a good long while.
I planned on showing you some of the footage of Tyler Robinson, you know, running away with the rifle and everything. But, I mean, I guess it's worth mentioning why I'm not. I actually made this video like 3 or so hours ago.
Okay.
And when I finished rendering it, I went to my channel to find out I got a copyright strike from a news agency for using some of their clips when going over the topic of that doctor that would walk around his office butt-ass naked for a long time, and even ejaculated on a patient/employee. Even called himself the Naked Doctor. I was covering that fucking wacko.
Okay.
And I used some of that news footage and got struck for it today. So I don't know if I'm allowed to use news footage here, so I'm going to refrain from showing any clips when talking about everything in regards to the Charlie Kirk assassination.
And I think he might actually have gotten the wrong video footage, because we were looking at an article earlier that some of the videos that were being circulated around showing like somebody running away from the thing were actually not him. It was like something that happened in, I think it was Vegas, like Reno, Nevada. Yeah, like Vegas or Reno, Nevada, where a guy was running away. I would imagine, unless I'm mistaken here, the guy did not run away with his rifle. He just left it there and ran. I think that's the case. I could be wrong, but I think that's the case. Because that's how they recovered all the, you know, rifle and ammunition really quickly, is because he just left it there and just booked.
Because I want to make sure this video doesn't get taken down. I think this is something very important and something that I really want.
So I do wonder if his other video got taken down or if he took it down.
To talk about. Anyway, Tyler Robinson's father alerted authorities that he believed his son was the shooter they were looking.
They uncovered in a wooded area. Okay, so he did take some of the stuff.
For, and obviously the investigators followed up. They investigated and found sufficient evidence to conclude that this could very likely be the person responsible for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. They also found 4 bullet casings that were engraved with messages on them. So the one fired casing read, "Notices bulges, OWO, what's this?" Which is a furry meme. It's like one of those old like Tumblr furry memes, I think, about like nuzzles you rar, that kind of shit. He had other messages on the other casings, the ones that were unfired, so not like politically active or anything until recently, which I think sounds right. Politics has become turbocharged over just the last handful of years, to the point where people can go from like not really being involved or only dipping their toes in to being just full-blown fucking radicalized and just, you know, off their rocker, off their fucking gourd in politics. Like, it is, everything is just accelerating at such a scary, alarming rate. Something else worth mentioning here,
I don't think so. I think this is not new.
The authorities were claiming that Tyler was communicating via Discord about this. However, Discord is coming out and saying that it found no evidence that the suspect planned the shooting on its platform or promoted violence. It was apparently reported by Utah Governor Spencer Cox that the shooter's roommate showed investigators Discord conversations with someone listed as Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, watching the area where the rifle was left, and having left it wrapped up in a towel. But Discord saying they can't find those messages that were referenced in that reporting. So that one is still a little shaky as of me making this video, but I thought it was worth mentioning here. Now, already outside of the obvious major conversation that's been being had here about political violence, there is now like another separate conversation that's starting to break through because of the engravings on the ammo casing, because Helldivers was referenced.
Okay, we're just gonna, that was the only thing I really wanted to look at here, was to see if he said anything else or if it was the same video. It wasn't, so he must have taken that video down. I guess the comments were just that bananas. All right, let's think. I mean, this Theo Vaughn stuff, this is probably going to be rough. You know what? I actually want to get to the, let's do this Rev stuff, see what the new stuff is from him. This is about, you know, the cancellations and stuff, which I'm happy about.
Hey, what's up, guys? Riff here.
Or at least I don't feel bad about it.
Looking at some pretty interesting stuff
coming
out of a sort of collaboration between various people like Asmongold, Legal Mindset, and other content creators. I'm sure an effective measure to deal with some of the violent rhetoric that has plagued social media.
Oof.
Now, of course, this is in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination. And I know you guys are probably seeing a lot of heavy topics from me on this channel recently, but I think what we're talking about here is really important, and it also affects areas we care about, like content creators as well as the gaming industry, which we'll see once again today. So
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you know, I don't want to go into this too long, but this is like, it is just an important topic. I understand it's probably, you know, hitting from all angles. Everybody's doing it, which is why I'm not doing this every single day. It's not going to be an everyday thing. I'm doing it every other day. But, you know, I mean, you got to figure for like the next week, this is just going to be everything everybody's talking about.
As I'm sure you're aware, after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, there was a massive amount of posts celebrating his death, but even going further and making additional calls for political violence and making direct threats in some cases. And today we're starting to really see the finding out stage, where apparently, you can't make violent threats on social media and not suffer, whether it's at your job or legally. And a lot of people are finding out over the past day or two. Now, we've seen a lot of posts, but this is just one I saw today. Like, this is just a rant. This is one of thousands. Okay, just to give you a taste. Just so you're very clear, this is not like, oh, they're saying some mean things about Charlie. No. This is what they're saying.
I watched like a 60-second, 60-minute, whatever. Y'all know what I mean. 1 minute edit of like the things he said, and they're like so atrocious that like his wife deserves to go too. Y'all keep on talking about his wife and kids. They need to go too, because they're carrying on that mentality and that lineage. Like, get rid of the whole family. I'm so sorry. Why did you guys stop with him? Why did you stop with him? Go get his grandma, because who raised you? Like, your mom ought to be ashamed for breathing a scum like you. Get rid of the whole family. Like, y'all too scary. Y'all too scary for revolution. Y'all too scary.
Holy, you gotta be kidding me with this. That is like, yeah. And you're just saying it. You're just happy to post it.
For progress. Like, y'all want results without putting in the work. You won't have to take out trash to get a clean house.
An absolute ghoul, literally calling for more rounds of violence and wanting to essentially wipe out his entire bloodline, including his 2 young children, who I believe are between around 1 and 5 years old.
Yeah.
These are the people making these threats. They are completely unhinged, doing it with their face showing for the world.
Real.
They are proud of what they're saying, because they don't believe they're going to face any consequences, and that's been nailed into their head for years, because stuff like this is never punished. And this is the account of the person we just saw.
It's this reciprocity, it's deterrence.
Their video, now they're trying to hide, but I have a good feeling they're going to be joining the unemployment line with several other hundred of their fellow Americans, because
the official tracker, the current number of lunatics that lost their jobs from celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination, 783. Let's bump those numbers up.
There are actual trackers right now reporting nearly 1,000 people have lost their jobs from either celebrating the assassination or even making threats or additional calls
for
violence. And this is the finding out stage. You can't make violent threats against people and think you're going to just get away with it. And this has actually been pretty easy. We're going to show you some other tools from Legal Mindset later in this video that'll make things.
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, I'm like, I can't say I'm happy about it, but I'm definitely not sad about it. Definitely not sad about it.
Even easier to report some of this stuff. But this isn't like the stereotype of the guy with like extreme views from a decade or 2 ago, where they're anonymous and on a random message board talking to like 3 people. No, the people doing this with Charlie Kirk, they're on Reddit, they're on TikTok, they're on Twitch, they're on Twitter. They are on mainstream platforms saying this stuff openly and getting praise and support for it. And the reason this is so easy is because a lot of these lunatics, they're posting on accounts that have their face and even their government name. So of course, people are gonna.
They're like, I sign off on this. That's what these people are saying. They're like, not only do I have this opinion, but I completely 100% endorse it. Therefore, that's why I'm posting it on my personal. These are my actual real thoughts. I really actually think this. I really actually believe this. I'm going out into the town square and I am in a loud, confident voice exclaiming, these are my opinions. And are you going to be surprised when some of those opinions, when shouted out in the town square, give consequences to you? Should be.
Find out where they work or what they do and contact their employers or contact law enforcement. And even we have examples of people posting from their work related accounts. They're making threats in their work capacity. And they're shocked.
And that is the one thing that we saw in the one article that we read earlier, where someone who was like working at Office Depot, and they were fired because they refused to make printouts of flyers that were like, hey, we think it was bad that this guy was killed. And he goes, nah, it's propaganda. And he just decided not to do it. Or he or she, I'm not sure. Decided not to do it. And I'm like, okay, well, you're just literally refusing to do your job then. Like, I would assume you would get fired for that. I would assume you would get fired for that, like, no matter what.
That it has consequences.
Yeah.
That's how bad things have gotten. I've heard a bunch of disingenuous excuses for all of this. People are like, oh, so now we love cancel culture? First of all, those people saying that, they would have gladly celebrated a couple years ago where people were getting their jobs taken away, deplatformed, having their lives ruined for saying something like there's two genders. And now you have people who embrace that system now crying when it's used against them when they're making calls to violence. I mean, this is the system you created. And another thing I'm seeing is people talking about the First Amendment. They're like, oh, what happened to the First Amendment? I thought this was America. Well, it doesn't protect violent threats, and it never did. Yep. And a good example of people misunderstanding this comes from the Clemson University situation, where they made this statement and said they're going to take appropriate action for speech that constitutes a genuine threat, which is not protected by the Constitution of...
All right, Clemson University unequivocally condemns any and all expressions that endorse, glorify, or celebrate political violence. The deeply inappropriate remarks made on social media in response to the tragic murder of Charlie Kirk are reprehensible and do not reflect the university values and principles that define our university community. We stand firmly on the principles of the U.S. Constitution, including the protection of free speech. However, that right does not extend to speech that incites harm or undermines the dignity of others. So they're actually even extending it further. Beyond, incites harm, they're also saying undermines the dignity of others. So they're using the kind of cancel culture definition of, the freedom of speech does not, anything that undermines the dignity of others, that does not fall under freedom of speech. Okay, buddy, you're going to be getting a lot more calls to oust people then. We will take appropriate action for speech that constitutes a genuine threat, which is not protected by the Constitution. This is an opportunity for each of us to stop and consider our core values of mutual respect, integrity, and personal responsibility. At Clemson, we expect our community to treat each other respectfully. Our foremost priority remains the safety and well-being of our community. We are committed to preserving the integrity of the Clemson experience and ensuring our campus remains a place of respect, learning, and shared purpose.
Of the United States. And whether they follow through on this or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I've seen at least 3 professors from this university either celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination or make further calls for political violence. These are the people teaching the youth.
Are you surprised? Is it shocking that the places where all these people are being radicalized, the people teaching them are kind of radical? Are you surprised? Should be.
That should alarm you greatly.
Should alarm you.
Of course, we have Tim Sweeney here, another person from the industry. In fact, they are the CEO and founder of Epic Games. So pretty big deal. He says this in response to that previous post. What amendment says you can't diss someone? Not seeing it here with a screenshot of the First Amendment. First of all, he is greatly misunderstanding what we're talking about here. We're not talking about people saying, "Oh, Charlie Kirk, he was a big meanie." No, they're celebrating his assassination and going further and making additional calls for political violence. Okay, that is not protected free speech under the First Amendment. It never has been, it never will be. You can't threaten people. This should be very obvious, but people who have always hated the First Amendment are now pretending to care about the First Amendment because it protects lunatics making these violent threats. And it's very transparent, and clearly Tim Sweeney does not understand the gravity of the situation or the First Amendment, because he's messing up everything here, and it's just a really terrible look.
Yeah.
Now, this is related to a lot of things that are going on in the gaming industry that involve one way or another this current situation. And Asmongold has made it his little mission here to make a series of videos talking about people from various industries, including the gaming industry, and wants to hold them accountable and shine a light on them and give people some recommendations of what to do if you see this.
One of these companies and you have a person like this doing it, make sure to talk to HR and let them know how uncomfortable you feel that there's a person who's working at your company who might want to advocate to have you killed because you disagree with them. Tell them that it makes you afraid to come into work. Tell them that, you know, you don't.
And this is the thing, I think it kind of probably should, right? Again, like, it's one thing if you're self-aware enough to hide these crazy thoughts that you have. It's an entirely different thing if you think that they're not even crazy. It's an entirely different thing if you are publicly stating these things and standing by them, signing your name to them and going, yeah, no, I definitely believe that this is the case. If that's true, then you kind of do actually have to think twice about, you know what, maybe this person actually would. Maybe this person would have a bad day and go, you know what? They believe this. They're potentially going to act on it.
No, maybe you're going to file a lawsuit. You feel unsafe at your workplace. And honestly, here's the important thing. You should feel unsafe because these people would justify violence against anybody who disagrees with them. And just because you think you know,
and it sure seems like they have. So, I mean, they've kind of proven that fact.
Know them doesn't mean they wouldn't do the exact same thing to you. And this is them. This is the game that they're making right here. And you can see that they've made no statement about this. Now, let me ask you a very simple question. If these people made a degrading comment towards the trans community, for example, or towards the black community, for example, do you think Sucker Punch would have immediately fired them and made a statement?
What do you think?
I think so, absolutely.
I think I have to agree there. Sounds like, yeah, they would.
Absolutely. But for some reason, these people are protected. And the reason why they're protected is because there's a lot of other ones at the company that feel the exact same way that they do. That's the only logical reason that I have. And I think that at a certain point, Sony or somebody needs to step in. Whoever owns this company needs to step in and root out this disease before it kills the entire company. Because I do think that
and it probably is also, like, you know, the point that I always came up with this was, like, if you're this entranced by, you know, politics and this ideology and this type of stuff, and you're spending this amount of time tweeting about, you know, these political issues and these things, you're probably not hyper obsessed about video games and making the best product you possibly can. And therefore, you're probably not putting out the best work that you could on this, you know? So the games are probably not going to be that great.
It will have a tremendously negative effect on the game.
So like I said, this is episode 1. He's going to be making a long series of
videos. Oh, damn, really? This is episode 1, BT Dubs. I will continue to do this until they are all gone, or the companies that protect them have their reputations destroyed beyond repair. Keep joining the Twitter community. Keep sharing the posts. It's working even faster than I anticipated.
About this, and he says, I will continue to do this until they are all gone, or the companies that protect them have their reputations destroyed beyond repair. Keep joining the Twitter community. Keep sharing the posts. It's working even faster than I anticipated.
I guess I didn't have to read it.
And he also mentioned in there, talk to HR, human resources. And we're going to see in just a second what the better option is according to Legal Mindset. But the reason HR is a shaky option to use if you see a coworker doing this or something like that is because, well, there's no anonymity. You might be retaliated against.
That is fair. That is fair. It depends on the company that you're working in. There's also an argument for having some documentation, like using your company email to email HR. Again, it really does depend on the size of the company you're on. I would say like in a larger company, this is probably okay because the HR person that you're talking to is like removed. They're in a, another building or something like that. If they're in your office building, then yeah, I can totally see that being a like a potentially dangerous area. But there's an argument to be made for having some intra-company documentation saying like, yeah, I felt unsafe about this. You didn't do anything. And then I had to contact, OSHA or something like that later on. But yeah, the OSHA is probably the safer option in total.
And the company has every incentive to try to bury whatever you're reporting for their own interest. And also, you don't know who you're dealing with at HR. You don't know the people working it. They might be just as crazy as the people you are reporting.
This is true. The reason why you could potentially say, like I might say, and again, I'm not an expert on this, so, don't take my word for it 100%. But if you have some documentation from, like within the company about this, if they were to retaliate against you, you have really good grounds for like a lawsuit.
But of course, like I said, we have a better option shared by Legal Mindset here. He's giving an enhancement to Asmongold's plan, and he says that is OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which is a federal agency with power to do something about this stuff. A report from them is a big deal for a company. They have to deal with it. And what they do is they, as an organization, they are there to ensure that employers are providing their employees with a safe work environment. And people reporting to this organization about these violent threats, yeah, they might be getting somewhere. So let's listen to some of the benefits of these OSHA.
All right, OSHA is step one to clean up corporate America and investigate extremists celebrating death. Strong legal precedent. HR can't minimize it. Reporting can be done anonymously, which I say, again, on balance, definitely the better way to go. And it doesn't have the cost of a lawsuit. It's free. Act now if you see a credible threat in the U.S.
OSHA complaints.
It's anonymous, so you will not be retaliated against. Human Resources cannot bury it because this is a government thing. It's going to come through the government regulatory body. They're going to know they got an OSHA complaint. They cannot hide that. And trust me when I tell you, as a corporate attorney, the CEO, the C-suite people, the management people, they will notice when OSHA complaints start coming in because there are legal penalties for non-compliance. Also, there's no cost of a lawsuit. Now, we're going to talk about the lawsuits a little bit more, but, you could sue for having a not safe workplace, but that costs a lot of money. And most regular Americans are just struggling to make ends meet, to pay for things. Things are getting more expensive, inflation. You don't have to sue. You can go online and submit it for free. You can call. You can go in person. You can fax it if you even have a fax. There's many places to do it for almost nothing. And the law is very clear regarding safety risks. They need to be investigated. They need to be looked at. This is something they are going to need to take action on. Even if they ultimately don't fire the person, at least they were investigated and at least they know it's an issue. And now they're going to pay attention to their online behavior and the online behavior of the employees. Corporate America has been sleeping on the online behavior of its employees, and now it's time to wake up. Now it is a genuine time to wake up and say, we are going to pay attention to what people are doing online and make sure that they are behaving online.
So not only,
and I mean, kind of makes sense because there's certainly an aspect of me that's like, look, okay, what you do in your own free time is your own business, and I mean, certainly that's where I would like to live. That would be the society I would prefer to be in. But But, it's not been the case that, this stuff has been applied equally. So it's very difficult to complain when it is starting to be applied equally, even if I don't like the fact that, anyone's applying it. Equal application of it is better than unequal.
Not only does this look like a very effective measure for dealing with wackadoos making violent threats online who might be your
I will say, I don't know how quickly OSHA complaints file. Like, I don't know how quickly, once you submit it, how fast they are actually fully filled out, how quickly, they run through the system. I don't know if that's the case.
Co-workers, whether it's in the gaming industry or at regular retail locations or offices, what have you, it's really effective, but also it's very appropriate. This is exactly why this system exists in the first place. It's about safety. You shouldn't have to live your life and your work life in fear because you're stuck with lunatics who are unhinged and posting things you're seeing online about threatening people or making calls to violence. Imagine a scenario where your coworker is saying violent threats and encouraging violence against people who either share beliefs with Charlie Kirk or even go out there and condemn political violence. People like that have been targeted as well for simply condemning what happened. Imagine if that's your coworker and you have any of those beliefs that they're making threats over. Right. How would you feel safe at your...
Yeah, hey, I tweeted like, hey, really horrible that, this person was assassinated. Okay, you tweeted that. If your coworker follows you or looks at that kind of stuff, maybe they're gonna, maybe they've got it in their head. Okay, well, this is an acceptable target. Because these people are crazy. These people are, they've gotten their brains entirely washed. They've been cooked.
Your job. Why would you have to put up with someone who clearly is unhinged, unwell, and needs to be investigated? Because that is the step here. This will lead to a possible investigation, because if someone is saying this sort of rhetoric, obviously they need to be investigated. There's no if, ands, or buts about it. This is an unhinged person, and we've seen it happen over and over again, and we don't want to see more stuff translate into real life violence as a...
Yeah, if nothing else, if people keep making these threats, and people keep saying these types of things, if they're not policing their own thoughts, if it's never even crossing their mind that, you know what, it's probably bad to be making calls to violence, it's bad to be saying, hey, this person died, get their wife and kids too. If that is not running through their head, and all of this horrible venom and vitriol is just constantly running non-stop in their head, probably it would be to their benefit if they were like made to stop. If they were like, yeah, you know what, I can't say that anymore. It's probably going to get you to stop believing it, right? Or at the very least, it's not going to be reinforcing it nonstop. I would like to live in a society in which people are smart enough or intelligent enough to, be able to police their own thoughts. But apparently social media has just made it impossible. Whatever that executive function in the brain is, has just been like corroded out.
Results of these calls for additional political violence. And it appears that Asmongold is aware of this latest recommendation from Legal Mindset. And he said it's great insight, and he didn't know how strong some of these systems were, and he's going to incorporate this into future videos, which obviously with his massive pull as a content creator, this is a really good step, because what we're seeing, what we're witnessing, there is no consequences for any of these actions. These people who are breaking the law and trying to instill fear on people because they are unhinged. There's got to be something done about it, and it sounds like there is a very good legal way of doing this with these OSHA complaints that can...
And isn't it fun? You're confronting violence with hey, let's act within the laws that exist. We don't need any new ones. Certainly not calling for any kind of reciprocity of violence. we should not be calling for any kind of violence. We should be, doing these things to keep ourselves safe. And we can do that completely working within the system. As opposed to, not only kill him, but, kill his wife and kids too. Yeah, this is just like it rings so insanely true that it's like, hey, are we the baddies? And it's like, yeah, you are. Kind of seems like it. I hope some years down the line, after you've been deprogrammed, you can look back on it and say, yeah, you know what? We had a crazy period, and you know what? We will try for the rest of our lives to make up for it. But I don't know how many people will.
Protect people from those who clearly need to have people protected from them. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video.
All right, so then I just see this thing. What the hell is this? I just want to see what it says. Was assassinated in 1967. Not a great title for that. Okay. Now, I wanted to get to the side scroller stuff, so let me do that.
So let's actually talk about what's happening on these college campuses in reaction to this. And this is, I feel like this is exactly what we're talking about here. So some whack job just sprayed kill all Charlie Kirks on the Seattle Central College sign. This is obviously a threat.
Damn.
But what the far left doesn't realize is that this madness is actually catalyzing responsible Americans to now say we are all Charlie Kirk.
Oof.
And
yeah, most people just kind of want to talk.
I think that's the amazing thing about this is that
this is the response. Humanizing versus dehumanizing.
Charlie Kirk will do way more in death than he did in life.
Mm-hmm.
It's
a sad.
So that's, obviously this is Seattle, but what the fuck are we doing here?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the other side of this is, so therefore this, we are all Charlie Kirks. This is in Seattle. So someone actually did go up there and do that. So, that is showing the difference here. Because you would think of Seattle. You do think of Seattle. I do, certainly. As just one of the most super duper progressive far left places in the country. If you're turning people in Seattle to the cause of being yeah, no, this was too far. This is insane. Then clearly you've mobilized something else. You've really turned a corner. And there's very clear evidence that this is again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is a Martin Luther King moment of this person was realistically already representing the majority will. 51, 52%, whatever. The majority of people were yeah, I agree with this person. Maybe I don't agree with everything they say, maybe these types of things, but I'm in general behind it. And you could tell that they had the momentum of history behind them. And therefore, the only way that the people who were sort of losing out, they were losing their position, their identity was being questioned as the cultural inheritors, the people who are on the right side of history, that's going away. They're no, you're not anymore. The only way for them to deal with this is no longer the debate. The debate's over. They lost. The ideas, no. We tried it. We gave it a shot. It didn't work. So the only way to deal with it is now violence. And it's basically just an admission of okay, you're wrong. And you're wrong. And you don't care. So you see some, and everybody kind of senses that. When they see somebody, be assassinated, they're like, oh, wow, okay. The only reason you would do that is if you were afraid of their ideas. If you thought that their ideas had so much behind it that the only way to stop those ideas is to try to stop the person. And, it never works like that. We're aware of that. And therefore, you get you recruit a lot of people. You recruit a lot of people that were in the middle, nah, I didn't really care. I didn't do these things. Now you go, okay, one side clearly has the moral authority here. One side is clearly the good side. One is the bad side. And it's pretty much always, I shouldn't even, you know, the person who's the victim of a political assassination clearly is, you know, on the good side. So, you know, you're recruiting a lot of people to that. It's not good.
Then you see other people saying, "Do this. Hey, how about you do him next?
Yeah.
Wow. How about you go after Asmongold? So tolerant, so loving."
Yeah.
I've seen ones where they like have like a list of like J.K. Rowling, Ben Shapiro.
Sure.
It's
I saw that this morning too.
Nuts.
Yeah, the idea of this is just shocking and sad. We're going to get to more Asmongold here in a second. But I saw this video, man, and golly. So I went to let me actually play this other video first before I get there. I went to the University of North Texas, and I saw this video last night. And do you remember a couple of years ago where there was a guy who was in a class and he was talking about the whole gender thing, and there was a girl who was standing up and just yell. It became a meme where she was like, just screaming at him. Do you remember this?
Absolutely.
Okay, that was at North Texas, right?
Oh.
And North Texas is located in Denton, Texas, which is like a Temu version of Austin. And Austin is a Temu version of San Francisco, right? It's just we're gonna try to be weird and we're artsy and blah 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 blah. And I saw, like, you know, when I went to school there.
This is a funny thing because, like, you would think of Austin, like, you know, people have moved there and this kind of thing, but it's like the more I hear about it, the more it's like, yeah, maybe it was good at one point, but it's gotten enough influx of people where it's like, yeah, now it's a crap hole.
North Texas is primarily a commuter school, but there's a lot of artists there. A lot of people who
we're not all bad.
Well, it's okay. All right, Phoenix, you're all pieces of shit. Anyways,
yeah.
Listen to this. This is a girl who is listening to just trying to have a little bit of logic, a little bit of reasoning here with some of her classmates.
Let's hear it. Can we hear it?
I don't hear anything.
No, I don't hear anything either.
Oh, it's muted.
He's muted.
You don't hear anything? You didn't hear anything going on in the class?
No.
Okay, let me go and stop sharing real quick, and I'll reshare. I don't know what's going on with that.
Craig.
So the school is they're in a class. Let's try again, Phoenix, real fast. Let's see if you can hear this.
There we got it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Let's hear.
This is them learning right here.
Why are we cheering for someone getting shot?
Oof. Okay.
Like, no matter what
I couldn't hear
political beliefs are,
anything.
we should not be cheering that someone got shot. He has a family. We do. I value everyone's beliefs, but we should not be cheering as a class that someone got shot. He has a family. He has a family. He has a family. Yes, and who shot them? A transgender person.
Okay, so she's talking about another instance, and she busts out a little bit of facts. They're speaking of the school church shooting that was in Minnesota not too long ago. Who shot him, right? So she throws it out there. Listen to the response here.
Transgender person. Yes. It doesn't matter.
Did you hear the response?
Yeah.
Oh, is that what we're doing here? Oh, so you're racist because you pointed out facts. And they immediately went to straight white male.
Yep.
Listen to it one more time.
Is that?
Yes. It doesn't
Ooh,
matter.
they did actually.
You
Jeez.
should not be cheering that someone got shot. What do you mean?
Huh?
Yes. You should not be cheering that someone got shot.
Oof.
The immediate jump to straight white male. Tell me, please tell me, somebody with a little bit of logic, tell me that is not programming. But that is not
100%.
hearing that is not hearing that straight white males are bad. Straight white males
I mean,
are
it's
evil,
gotta be.
right? Like you just don't say that on a whim. Oh, but what about straight white males? Like that's not how that's thrown out. That is sheer indoctrination. That is sheer radicalization, and that is happening right up the road from where I live in Texas.
The words or violence was never a mistake, right? So that like the whole idea is you immediately stop anytime someone is. The whole idea was to eliminate freedom of speech, right? That's your gateway to that.
It's got to be, because I mean, there's no other way to go with it.
So the minute you hear anything, you need to silence it immediately. Whether you, in this case, unfortunately, commit unspeakable violence horrors. Another time it can be just screaming, where they just scream that way the person can't talk, or that they immediately go to the messaging immediately just to try to turn it off. None of this is a mistake, and this is as cult-like behavior as you can possibly get, where you don't even think for a second about even what your output is. You're just immediately saying the message.
I think it's so crazy that she's defending herself by saying, yes, I value everyone's beliefs, because that's garbage. That's not what the opposite side is doing. They don't value anyone's beliefs. They value herd mentality. And so like, you know, if your belief departs from the herd, then you are the enemy. And I gotta be honest with you guys, if I hear fascists thrown around one more time, can someone go back to these schools and stop teaching gender ideology and start teaching history of what fascism actually is? Like it is the most broken understanding and ignorant communication that we see over and over and over again. And it's fascism, and you're fighting Nazis, and we're doing all these things that makes us justified, and it makes us righteous in these acts of horror and these acts of terror that we're committing. But you are terrorists. You're just terrorists.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't even know how to describe it. I was wondering if I could see who that guy was, because I haven't seen him on here before. But yeah, I mean, the other side of it, of course, is also like, you know, those terms have been used so poorly and so egregiously for so long that they no longer mean anything to the people that are like actually paying attention, that are actually thinking, that are actually like using any kind of real critical thinking. Like, no, okay, now, you know, those words used to have a lot of punch to them. They used to have a lot of zip to them, because you'd only deploy them when the person was actually displaying that kind of behavior, those types of ideas that are bad and dangerous. And, you know, you need to signal, hey, really, like, you know, watch out. So the only people that are using those terms nowadays that, you know, because they think they actually have meaning, are the people who are using them just to mean anybody. And I guess, you know, the only people that are, you know, really viewing them as meaning what they used to mean are unhinged people that are then going to, you know, go way further than, you know, any normal thinking person would with them.
McCarthy was right, by the way. I just want to say that.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Well, we're going to get to a little bit more here. And by the way, a little more context here. Montestrats is not being cheeky, but the 100K go to the dad, but would the 100K go to the dad for turning
that was my question?
In?
Yeah,
I thought that too. I'm like, is that just going to help his legal funds now? Like, huh?
How's that
work? Yeah, I don't know. Marmalin says the sad part is this is why Charlie was going to those campuses and talking with these kids. This is the exact kid Charlie was trying to reach.
Yeah.
Well, says, I grew up using guns at a range ever since I was 5 years old and never considered taking someone's life because I was always taught that every life is sacred. I think he was brainwashed.
Oh, yeah.
Can I say real quick, too? I mean, like, if you just look at this as far as logic, these people, let's say, they hate one person's ideology. Let's say they don't like the fact that some people are questioning transgenderism. With the amount of hate to commit violence, but I'm not seeing the person that is, let's say, anti-transgender or has some questions about it, committing any violence towards them.
No.
These are wake-up moments for someone like me, who did have a wake-up moment when they kept telling me all those people are fascists, and then I said, well, I think I'm going to go ask them about that before I just start grabbing my torch. And when you're kind of looking around the room and everyone's screaming violence, violence, violence against someone, it really disturbs me that no one just, like, maybe you should just fact check that for a second. Maybe just, I don't know, just see, because you're not seeing it the other way around. Like, where's the riots for what happened here? Wouldn't that be a kind of a little bit of a wake up?
Yeah, I mean, so the thing of it is that I understand why it doesn't happen. I understand why it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because if those people are kind of like confronted with that, they have to defend their position and they have to say, no, 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 my position is right here on this thing, because otherwise it massively threatens all of the things that I've said before. You know, like it really confronts them with the idea that it's like, no, actually, you know what? You thought you were on the right side. You thought you were the good guys, but actually, no, you were wrong. You were on the, not only the wrong side, you were on the evil side. Doesn't mean you're an evil person, but just being on the evil side is more than most people can or want to admit or take. Especially when like you're still in it, you're still deep into it. Maybe a couple years down the line, a lot of these people will be able to look back on it and go, okay, now that that is no longer like, you know, a piece of the cultural zeitgeist, that, you know, you could be a part of it, they will be able to disengage from it and kind of deprogram and be like, okay, yeah, no, actually, yeah, the side that I was on was, you know, a like racist death cult. But some people will not. Some people will be like, no, I'm never going to confront that. I would rather double down and go, no, no, no. They were actually right the whole time. Because there were people who were in the actual, you know, Germany, actual National Socialist Party members had jobs in, you know, camps and these types of things. Some of them come out of it and they go, yeah, no, this is terrible. This is awful. Didn't even realize it at the time. This is terrible. But some of them like double down. Some of them like, no. You know, any of the evidence that comes out that would prove that they were on the wrong side, they go, no, I don't believe it. It's not true. Any of the things that, you know, any of the arguments people present to them, no, I don't believe them. They're not true. Because if they are true, or if you start to believe that they are true, that means that you're, you know, you were a bad person during that amount of time. And the fact that you stuck with it, even when presented with this evidence, means that like you continue to be a bad person. You continue, like you are a bad person. And a lot of people don't want to, you know, admit even the possibility of that being true.
Cole, you're kind of going like, well, I was told like all these people are out to kill us all. They want us all dead, but we just took one of them and still nothing. So my ongoing question is when are they going to, is there any brain cell in there to just question anything around them, or are they just embedded in the Matrix cult? I mean, like, that's it. They're just in it.
Yeah, I think that's the irony of all this, is they're over here thinking that they are so, like, that's the thing that we've heard over and over again. You're just not smart enough to understand this. You are so dumb, you straight white male, and we are so smart that it doesn't crack your feeble little peanut brain, right? So, hey, if they're so smart, Phoenix, why would they need to change the way they think? They're smarter than.
And again, I mean, it's not necessarily, I don't know if it's intelligence, smartness necessarily. It's the underlying sort of moral message. We're on the right side. That's why, you know, we have these beliefs, is that we're the good guys. And certainly, I mean, you know, I think there is, you know, an aspect of sort of like superiority that they would like to portray. But I think if you were to get down to it, it wouldn't necessarily be, you know, we're the smarter group. It's that we are the more moral group. And the fact that, you know, something like this happens, which really does, for everyone who's kind of like in the middle, doesn't really care, isn't really paying attention, clearly demonstrates to all of them that the moral authority is on the side of the victim, is on the side of the person being assassinated. Then, you know, they kind of have to double down and go, no. We didn't lose the moral authority. We've always had it. We have to, you know, we have to just basically deploy every possible tactic to assuage the belief that actually perhaps we are the people who are immoral, who are acting incorrectly, who are acting wrongly, who are acting badly, who are acting, evilly. And, most people just don't want to do it. The cognitive dissonance alone, just, questioning that part of your identity is enough to throw most people out of any kind of questioning of their beliefs. This on top of the idea that, if you question it, not only are you throwing your identity into question, but you're throwing, what kind of a person you are. Are you a good person? Like, it could be beforehand, oh man, like, I believe this. Most people want to stick with their beliefs. Like, I believe in God. Okay, most people, when confronted with any kind of evidence against or arguments against, really are acting defensively to defend their identity. But if, you believed in God and you're being, confronted with it, and then you decide, okay, you know what, I'm an atheist. That's painful, but it doesn't mean that you were a bad person when you believed. The other side of this is now, if you were, a liberal and you were the person who was, supporting, Charlie Kirk being killed or taken out in some way, shape, or form, not only is your identity being questioned, which is painful, but your moral authority is being questioned. If you acknowledge the fact that you were wrong to believe that, you also have to acknowledge that you were acting like evilly. You were on the side of, how immorality sounds wrong. I think evil is closer to the correct word here. And that's, so that's like double, triple, exponentially worse. So the amount of people who are going to do that is going to be, right now, very small. If the amount of people who are actually going to potentially come around, it's going to be a slow process. And, the sort of the ideology cannot be there anymore. Like the only people who got out of National Socialism, who were deep into it, were only able to do it after the party was destroyed.
Everybody. And it's the ignorance that they have, their bravado that they have, knowing that they're so smart and that they know more than you idiot.
Mm.
They don't need to change anything. Why would they need to look around? And look, what's the old saying? Young, dumb, and full of cum, right? That's
how I like to live my life.
That's right, Phoenix. It's straight from the hood. But that's it. When you're dumb, when you're young, you're stupid. And you are that's the thing, is they know that if they're programmed early, that they can take you out. And here, once again, this kid raised wife with a mom, dad, brother, family, strong family structure right here. And then
that's how
they let him go. They let him go. They let him go off into this place that's supposed to be for intellectual thought, challenging ideas. This idea that over the last however long has turned into this indoctrination camp for kids. And my God, that is as a parent, that is terrifying to think. And the slow trickle down.
Now, I mean, I think he's talking about the guy who killed him, the assassin. Obviously, we do know now that he's registered to vote unaffiliated with either party. One would assume, I didn't see when, but I would imagine he must have registered when he was 18, because he's apparently inactive, which means that, there were 2 elections that happened that he didn't vote in. So, elections are only happening every 2 years, so I would imagine he's 22, so he had to have registered when he was 18, which means that it's not necessarily that he went off to college and, changed from, a Republican to a Democrat, or, conservative to a liberal. He probably already had some inklings of that. And obviously some of that is just personality based. Some of that is that stuff. But the other side of it is, the person who is indoctrinated by this kind of stuff, the people that are really taken in to this degree with ideology, are already, they're inherently just malleable, which means that this stuff probably started earlier. This stuff probably was not just a college phase. This was something that had happened in high school even.
from colleges into high schools, into middle schools, and the like. You look at this and you just have to say, where did this start? Where did this start? And you are supposed to go to college to be exposed to new things.
It had to have been at least in high school, though.
But if you're only hearing one thing, and in this case of what was happening at North Texas, where this girl's saying, why are we celebrating this? And they immediately go, white man bad.
Yeah.
White man bad. Like it's straight up like Idiocracy. I just watched it. And they go, Brondo, it has electrolytes. Brondo, it has electrolytes. But Brondo has electrolytes. Like, and they go, what's electrolytes? And they go, it has electrolytes. And it's just reading the company line over and over and over again. These fucking brainwashed morons who think they know more than everybody else.
Yeah, but it infiltrates everything. Sorry, Craig, but like when you go back again to Minnesota, that's another family that on the outside, the family looked like they were a strong family structure. The mom was actually one of the teachers at the Catholic school that the kid terrorized. And
Damn,
on
I didn't
the
know that.
outside, you would think that a Catholic school teacher, there must be some standards for that school to hire someone to have similar religious background and beliefs. And I know that like obviously equality, whatever, but like the reality of it is like church schools hire people that sing the same sheet of music that they do. But when you look at the deep dive into that family, that mom was so counterculture from the school that she was teaching, and I honestly can't believe that she ever worked there for more than 5 minutes. And so to me, that indoctrination is coming in from people that are forcing their way into even those spaces and bringing their ideologies to overcome the ideologies that look like that strong family structure. So I think that like on the one hand, yeah, it looks like from the outside this kid was a part of a strong family structure, but like
it could, but I mean that doesn't mean anything. We don't know anything about that one way or the other. We really don't.
And social media, even in regards to like family optics, it's such a lie. It's such a lie.
You know, I want to Phoenix, I want to get to you in just a second. I read this.
And again, I mean, I would say my guess is, again, the people who are pulled into this, who are sort of indoctrinated by these things and are able to go to that extremes, they're the kind of people that are just inherently malleable. They are the people that are like, if you were to hypnotize them, they go crazy. They go super duper full bore. They believe into it 110%, and you can get them to do anything. There's other people that are not. The other people that are just like, completely unaffected by it, totally. And you would never be able to get them to like change their opinion on certain things. Like they're just inherently stubborn on this stuff. And like maybe if they were to come around, they change their mind a little bit. The people that, get indoctrinated into these things and are able to go as far as they do are inherently malleable. And that means that they're inherently malleable forever. Like, so even if they are raised in like, very specific, strong family values, all that kind of stuff, if they're outside of that environment for any amount of time, all the foundational stuff there, it doesn't matter. It will just basically be eroded very quickly.
From Mighty says, I was almost brainwashed by Antifa types. Mighty, I would love to hear that story. I would love to hear what you went through, because he kind of gives a playbook here of like where it starts. How did you get out? I that's fascinating to me. How did you realize that what you were being taught was a bunch of shit, and that ultimately it was going to be really, really bad? Phoenix, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, but first of all, good on that person for having brain cells to consider what's going on and make in my opinion, the better decision. I was going to say real quick, it's not only, I think all this stems from, in my opinion, parents not doing their job. But then there's another part of it too, where then you have the social media feedback loop. Where right now, at a time in high school where you always want to be cool, I was always the opposite. I was the annoying rebel, but most people want to be cool. And so when you're bombarded by classmates posting certain things that get likes, and then that gains you popularity, and you want to be inside, in the clique, you start. Right, even there you're starting to get indoctrinated without much questioning. I kind of wish everyone. My parents raised me with a pretty simple rule set of like, whenever you go into a debate, never go in there to win, go in there to learn, and that was everything to me. It taught me,
Mm-hmm.
oh, a debate isn't for me just to say how right I am and to win you over. It was the idea of, oh, let me understand this viewpoint. Just because maybe I can learn something from that, but also
Mm-hmm.
worst case, also then I better understand their opinion. That way I can make my argument.
Yeah. It's very difficult to do because, to be perfectly honest, in like most debate, that's not the point. Debate is set up as a gladiator sport. It's set up as win or lose. It's competitive, and therefore the idea of a debate as a search for truth. We're gonna, put these two opposing ideas up against each other, and we're going to try to find the places where they're weak, and we're going to see if, your opinion, your side of this view, the things that you're going to bring to bear are going to be able to fill in those gaps, or perhaps, they will erode it out so much that, that other opinion goes, okay, we can't use that opinion anymore. That side is not viable anymore. We have to come up with another reason for why we're no on this issue or yes on this issue. And that is definitely the way that I like to think of debate. But certainly if you're ever going to watch a debate, online or, in any degree of, a televised, recorded sense, they are just inherently adversarial. And they are about scoring points. They're about rhetorical panache, style, expertise, that type of stuff. And you're basically just trying to win over people. Not necessarily with arguments, or kind of with arguments, but not by displaying truth, but by just winning them over, being persuasive.
Stronger. And I don't think a lot of these kids have been taught that. As a matter of fact, I would say most parents nowadays just want to be friends with their kids and don't actually want to teach them anything. They just want to be just besties,
Yeah. A lot of truth in that. Well, let's go back. I saw this video today, man, and this was crazy. This is at Georgia Tech University. This is the South, y'all. The deep South, Georgia Tech, right? Let's take a look. This is the Bible Belt. Take a look at this minute and 15 seconds. That will really tell you everything you need to know.
The day after Charlie Kirk's murder, we're here at Georgia Tech University in Atlanta, Georgia, and the first thing I see when
I was gonna say, man, you're gonna get zipped on that music, buddy.
I come to
the poster immediately.
That's what I saw.
I can't hear you, by the way.
Let me go ahead and pull it down
Craig
a little
muted.
bit just so we don't get flagged.
Campus is the fall of the Trump fascist regime beginning November 5th, 2025. RefuseFascism.org needs to be investigated. 2028 is way too late. Trump must go now. If you walk with me here, we have another sign. This is the scary part. The time has come for the fall of the Trump fascist regime beginning November 5th. No, in the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. All over the campus, similar signs. No, in the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. RefuseFascism.org, followed by a sign that we already read. This is happening all over this campus. So you got to ask yourself, when you see posters like this nonstop, what are they advocating for? Are they inciting certain events?
Who is that? I'm trying to think who's the person who plays that song. I want to say it's Radiohead, right? Like their rainbows.
The time has come for the fall of the Trump fascist regime. The time has come.
Yeah.
I want to say that again. The time has come. That is what left-leaning organization on college campuses at Georgia Tech are propagating to college students. So when I walk
Georgia
around
Tech.
and I ask students, do you condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk? And they say no, it's most likely because of stuff like this.
I feel like I need to make my way up to North Texas today and maybe do a little bit of videoing to see if that stuff is all around there as well. I think that'd be really, really.
I would be
eye-opening to,
unsurprised.
I bet I do. Well, we've seen a lot of people that have taken a lot of glee, as referenced in that video, who have literally celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk. As we've learned more and more about this, and once again, all tying into the radicalization of just society and whether it's driven through, the indoctrination. And I'll tell you what, like, if this isn't a case study, when you look at this guy, this fairly normal looking kid, like I said, raised with a mom and a dad, family, core family unit. Dad is a member of the police, right? 27 years, literally his entire life. To see him be put into the oven that is indoctrination and to come out the other side literally committing one of the biggest assassinations in American history, I don't know if that's a better billboard for, hey, probably not a good idea to send your kids, send your offspring to these indoctrination camps. Maybe
Yeah, because you never know. You just don't know if outside of their environment, that's stable, they're going to be the kids that you raised anymore. It's entirely possible. They're just personality-wise, neurologically speaking, that they are just more influenceable than other people. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It makes you more adaptable. It means that you can fit in to an environment very, very quickly and easily and, correctly. But it also means that, if you're put into an environment that is bad or dangerous or destructive, you're going to become the worst member of that society, of that environment, super quickly. And, then it's not that there's no going back. You could easily get out of it and get, deprogrammed in another environment because you are that malleable, you're that easily influenced, you're that highly suggestible. But if you don't get out of it, then you're going to probably go down a path that, you're not going to return from. Because I would be unsurprised if this guy recants, if the guy who kills Charlie Kirk after, years in prison recants and is like, no, actually, you know what? I totally regret it. It was horrible. It's awful. It's bad. Because my guess would be that, he is one of those people that's just super, super highly suggestible. And, unfortunately, I mean, that's the entire argument of like why you can't have people like Hassan Piker on Twitch calling for the death of politicians and, to enact violence on people they oppose, all these types of things, because there are going to be people out there that are, even if they're like mentally fit in terms of like they're not schizophrenic, they're not crazy, they're just highly, highly suggestible, and they can be molded into someone very dangerous very quickly with really like, minor input.
That's the way to describe them now, is indoctrination camps, as opposed to, and the irony of all this is like,
you're not getting anything out of that education. And that's the other side of it, which is like, look, it's a waste of money. You're not getting anything out of it nowadays, especially with the fact that it's like, how many kids are going to college and are going to be getting degrees based purely on like, hey, this person used AI to do it. So it's like, you're not even learning anything. It's just, at this point you'd go, college is just you're just burning money, basically. You're not getting anything out of it.
To this, right? We have been
just pissing it away.
Our entire life, we've been told, hey, go to high school, get good grades.
Yeah.
Hey, go to college, get a degree, go get a great job, go live a great life. Right. And I keep hearing over and over again how college age students, they can't make it anymore. The dollar doesn't go as far. And you know what? They're right. Yeah. So why are you still following that same playbook?
Yeah.
How come you still think it's important to go to college? Why? There are plenty of other opportunities here that allow you to go out and try new things, whether it's trade school, whether if you want to go be a pilot, hopefully you don't have to worry about Greek sex. like you were talking about, Ray. What an absolute
I don't know what the hell that is, but okay.
At least. But this may be the best billboard I've ever seen. The actions in the last 48 hours for why you shouldn't send your kid to college.
I can see that for sure.
I'm gonna have to make a hard decision here in the next few years with my daughters. Ray, you got to make a hard decision.
It's coming, man. It's coming.
It's
like a freight train barreling at me right now. Like
trade school.
I bet.
I would never, ever, ever allow it. I'd say, you want to go, great, you can pay for that. I'm not sending it.
And that is actually a pretty decent actual like way to do it. Is that it's like, you have to pay for it because that allows them at the very least keep, like 1 foot in the real world the whole time. That's actually it's not a bad way to go. If you want to go, because I mean, there's definitely depends on where you go, but there is a sort of like networking value to going to college, but it depends on, then it depends on like what your major is, depends on what you're doing. Because you can definitely make good connections at college, but if the connections you're making are like, with other people of the women's study campus, college, dorm, blah, 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 you're not really getting anything out of it. And it's the same thing with like, if you're going like a shitty, like D tier school, you're not getting anything out of it. All right.
Okay, so
Epic.
a lot of leftists.
Oh, we just saw
got
this one too.
canceled.
We just saw this tweet in our side scrollers video from the Epic's game. Is he the CEO? He's the CEO.
Because of the whole Charlie Kirk event. And now we have the CEO of Epic Games being concerned.
Yes.
Interesting
concerned.
how if you play Fortnite, you realize you can't say negative things about China because, well, the Chinese government is strong. It's powerful. It imposes its will and dominates its companies, right? So Tim Sweeney is not concerned about free speech when it comes to that. Like, you're not going to see him in China trying to change the mind of the CCP. But you are going to see him going into the United States trying to change the mind of Americans and being like, oh, you guys, listen, like the whole Charlie Kirk.
All right. He'll probably read this, but let's read it for us. What amendment says you can't diss someone? Not seeing it here. He's got a little copy of the First Amendment, and then he says, my tweet isn't some veiled partisan political commentary. Clemson's statement is simply wrong about the Constitution, and a public university should know better. The Constitution and the right to vigorously criticize is supposed to be the constant through these times. Now, we did just read the Clemson statement. It's very specific in the sense that it was saying there are things that are not protected by the First Amendment. These are like incitements to violence. And Clemson actually also says anything that infringes on the dignity of another being. I don't know how deep in the, constitutional law that is, but at the very least, the sort of incitement to violence, the violent threats, the language of violence type of thing, there's shades there, but that type of stuff, he was, that is correct. That's well-known legal theory here. This guy, I don't think, is a constitutional scholar, and therefore, apparently, he's wrong.
Kirk thing, like maybe it's not okay to get progressives fired over it. Like sure, you have people that are cherishing and praising and glorifying the deaf, and even happy that his little girl was there. But it's a little
Monsters.
bit too far. It's a little bit too far to get them canceled over it. And now he links the First Amendment like he's a YouTuber in 2016, right? So Tim Sweeney is a skeptic now. He's a skeptic, and he says, my tweet isn't some veiled partisan policy commentary. Clemson's statement is simply wrong about the Constitution, and a public university should know better. The Constitution and the right to vigorously criticize is supported to be constant through these times, right? So again, he's not saying that the shooting is correct, but like people that are basically using their First Amendment in order to glorify the deaf or anything like that, basically,
Or call for threats against other people.
say, well, that's free speech. Listen here, Baco. I find it very interesting how there's a lot of people that are nowhere to be found during times when right-wingers get banned, or even times when it's not even about right-wingers. Like, for example, recently, payment processors decided to crack down on adult games, right?
Yeah, did we hear anything from it? I don't remember hearing anything from him. I'm sure he did. I'm sure he was a big free speech warrior then, though.
And it's not just like if the game is pornographic or not. No. Like, they're basically saying, we want to see the story. We want to see the themes. We want to see what is going on in the game. And they crack down on Steam. Did Tim Sweeney take a stand against that? Because like that you're not.
I'm sure he
the
must
left
have.
and the right. Like most people were against collective shout, right? Didn't take him much to just get a tweet going and say, yeah, like I'm kind of concerned about artistic freedom. I mean, yeah, sure, they're adult games and whatever, but like, what if this spreads? Like, what if this content creep goes into normal games? And That's kind of concerning. I don't think like payment processors should have a right to crack down on something as long as it's legal. Where was he then, right? Like, no, I'm starting to notice this trend.
Well, I'm sure he was there. I'm sure he's gonna. I'm sure people will find those tweets. Yeah, right. Let me know. Put it somewhere, right?
With a lot of liberals, the moment that leftists are being affected by cancel culture, that's when they come out of the woodwork, and it's like, oh, you guys, you guys, the First Amendment, oh yeah. When bad things happen to right-wingers or even like neutral things that don't affect progressives, they don't care, right? They only care when it affects progressives because it affects progress. Oh.
God, it does seem. God, it seems he's right. Ugh, man.
Oh, I see. Right. Interesting. And so this is why a lot of people are telling him to watch this meme. You know, like something that progressives used to tell us, like free speech activists back in the day. It's like, oh yeah, sure, the First Amendment only applies to the government. Only to the government. It's not like it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
But like for some reason, things in the Constitution exist because they're on a piece of paper. It's not like because people believe that, you know, this is a good thing. And here's the deal. You know, you can't have free speech if people don't believe in it. You can't have free speech if only a small group of...
That's what I've been saying that basically this entire stream, is that free speech is inherently universal. You can't have free speech if it's not applicable universally to every single person. Every single person has freedom of speech, or no one has freedom of speech. If one person's freedom of speech is curtailed, it is no longer free speech anymore. It has to be applied universally, and it has to be applied even to the people that you despise, even to people that are saying things that are absolutely horrible, or else you don't have it. Okay, and guess what? The last 10 years, it has not been applied in such a way, so we don't have free speech. We don't have it. It's not there. It hasn't existed for a while, and it's just taken people who like it, who believe in it, who want it to exist, apparently, unfortunately, this long to realize. I'm one of those people who I'm like, look, I am a supporter of free speech. I think we should have it, but if we live in a society where we don't, well, then unfortunately, you have to apply whatever societal rules you have around speech equally. That's the only way you can get back to a society closer to freedom of speech than the one we've got now. That's it. There has to be some level of reciprocity such that, you know, cancel culture or whatever you're calling, that's now, you know, everyone has that tool in their toolbox, and therefore it is, you know, it would only be used as a deterrent. You know, I'm not going to use my nuclear weapons because I know you have nuclear weapons. And if I use mine, you'll use yours. I'm not going to cancel you because I know you can cancel me. And therefore, you won't cancel me because I won't cancel you. And we both have that tool, and it is completely, it's not going to be used ever because we know that both sides have equal access to it. That's kind of the only way forward out of this, unfortunately.
Of people believe in it. It's kind of the same like Christianity in Britain. You can't have Christianity in churches if people stop going to church. Like they were shut down, right? Like I listened to one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, an atheist, Dawkins. Yeah. And he was like, well, I like Christmas carols, and I like the cultural thing that Britain has with Christianity. But I am worried that it's going away. It's like, yeah, of course, like if you don't have Christians, if people don't believe in it, you're not going to have the churches. It's literally the same when it comes to free speech. Like if you have people simply not believing that it is a value, well, over time it gets eroded, and over time, yeah, like even the Constitution can be changed. If you have like a huge group of people that basically say, you know what, like this free speech thing just isn't good, like we want safetyism instead, you can change the Constitution. And this is the exact problem on the internet. Like, you cannot have free speech with only a group of people believing in it, and then you try to lean on those people when things go bad for you. Like, you have to consistently and systematically defend free speech all the time, even when it's not yours.
And that is what people realized back in the day. Again, I mean, I'm old enough to remember, I want to say it was the ADL. I want to say it was the ADL. ADL died to defend you're right. I think it was the ADL. Anti-Defamation League. Was it these guys? Was it the ADL? Maybe it wasn't the ADL. Say it. Is it these guys? Maybe it wasn't the ADL. Defend right to speak. So this is apparently Voltaire. Quote continues to be associated with him. Was it the ADL? I'm trying to think. Okay, so this is apparently is often misattributed to Voltaire. He didn't actually write. Friends of Voltaire, blah blah blah. Yes. I think didn't the ADL defend a neo-Nazi when undercover surveillance? Was it the ADL? Maybe it was something. I think it was the ADL though, who like defended a legit neo-Nazi, like back in like the 90s or something. And they were basically, they basically said the same thing. Like, I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. And, people recognize that, that's the kind of position you need to keep freedom of speech. Because it has to be applied universally. It has to be applied to the most despicable people who are saying the most abhorrent, heinous things, or else you don't have it. And, we don't have it. We haven't had it for a while now. And it's just unfortunate that it's taken Charlie Kirk's death to like recognize that and go, okay, I guess we have to, kind of reorient ourselves. We have to, it's this stuff's not going away. So unfortunately, we just have to try to be fair and judicious in its application. And then potentially, again, we can use it as a deterrent because everybody has it.
Side, right? And so, in the case of Tim Sweeney, it's not that he's not defending it when it's on his side or the other, but like there are so many issues about free speech where he hasn't said anything. And he's an influential guy. Could have made some changes, right? My stance on free speech remains the same. If you're a person that advocated to ban something, then you deserve and you should be banned. Period. That's it. Any person that never advocated for someone else to be banned or censored should not be banned or censored. It's kind of like self-defense. It's very internally consistent, right? The same thing with violence. Like
again, I do like. He said this in an earlier video we watched today, which is the analogy of self-defense, which I find very, very good here. The analogy of self-defense in terms of speech and speech policing makes a lot of sense here.
Towards someone that did violence as well. It's in order to defend yourself, right? So like if you have a censor, they must be banned so they stop censoring. In the case of Tim Sweeney, I don't think he banned anyone. I don't think he should be banned for this take. But at the same time, I think he should be called out, right? Like I can use my free speech against him. That's fine.
Yeah.
What is the consistency? Like, I need to see some consistency, or at least try to be consistent. Like, I get it, Fortnite China, it's out of your hands, right? But, like, there were so many American issues, like, especially during the BLM riots, where right-wingers were being deplatformed for jokes, for memes, for stuff like that.
Were they?
If I look at the TOS from Epic Games, does it allow trash talk or banter? Like, if I make an edgy video game that has, like, very edgy and political humor borderlining on hate speech, like South Park, am I allowed to have it on the platform? Look at Elon Musk, right? Like, Elon Musk at least is trying to make the platform free speech, even if it's not perfect, but, like, you can see that he's making an effort. And so, like, if Elon Musk came out now, and he basically said, hey, like, we should stop deplatforming these guys, because, like, free speech, at least, I wouldn't agree with him, but, like, at least I would understand that he genuinely believes that.
I think so. I think he's shown, that he's willing to, go to the mat for that.
Yeah, no, like Elon Musk like actually believes in free speech, so I can see his point. But if you're a person that like, usually is quiet when the world is burning, and now you're coming out and it's like, oh yeah, maybe we shouldn't fire people for glorifying a death. No, I think we should. I think we should. I think we will get free speech when both sides are oppressed, and probably not even then. But like when
probably, yeah. I mean, again, I mean, we've never had real, like, full freedom of speech. There's always been constraints on it. And certainly, if you look through, like, American history, yeah, to say that there has not been censorious stuff is crazy. I mean, like, Abraham Lincoln censored stuff like crazy during the Civil War. I mean, it's not new, but, you know, at the very least, within my lifetime, the last, you know, like 30, 40, 50 years, we've had, you know, both a waxing and a waning. We've had, you know, a period where, you know, you had a lot of freedom of speech and you had a lot of people on both sides very happy to defend it. And, you know, now we're at a low point where, you know, freedom of speech has not been the case, because again, it's universal. It has to be applied universally. Everybody has it or nobody has it. And what would you say? Half of America hasn't had it for the last 10 plus years. And therefore, you know, it's unfortunate it took 10 years, because now, you know, the other side is a little bit entrenched in their thoughts on it. But, you know, now it's like, okay, well, the only way we can deal with this is to have some degree of reciprocity. So, well, you know, that's what we'll do.
Both groups of people are living under the same rules, and they will notice, okay, maybe the rules are bad. Maybe we don't need safetyism. Maybe safetyism makes the world boring and plain. Maybe we should get rid of it. Maybe then and only then we will get free speech back. Until then, you know, like,
fingers crossed.
You can be a rich person and just say, oh, goodness gracious, free speech, First Amendment. No one is going to take you seriously. Put yourself into the shoes of the people you're trying to talk to, of the people you're trying to convince. They log online, they want to play a video game, everything they say is monitored, whether by AI, various moderators, software, terms of service. They get banned, or they say something edgy, they do some banter, and a female streamer clips that, puts it on Twitch, they become infamous, they get harassed. You know, they go on social media, they share a meme, they get banned, or they know 5 or 6 other people that get banned. They go to the workplace, they know at least one guy that got in trouble with HR because they said a joke. And then the people that want this culture, the people that encourage this culture, they say some of the most extremist stuff, and finally, after 2 decades, they have their comeuppance.
Yeah, are you really feeling bad about those people?
That's when you come out and it's like, no, actually, guy, you need to value the free speech. It's kind of difficult to say that when the guy advocating for free speech just got shot. Well, let me know what you guys think.
Yeah, it is kind of tough. It is really kind of tough to look at. All right, let's check. Let's see what we've got. Trying to think here. Let's see. Reddit claims the assassin was right wing. This is okay. So let's see. The Occupy Democrats MAGA world flies into panic mode as the grandmother of Charlie Kirk's suspected assassin Tyler Robinson reveals that his entire family is hardcore MAGA. The Republican narrative has collapsed in record time. No, literally, it was like, hey, also, he was the only liberal. He was the only Democrat. He was the only, left-leaning person in the family. That is also in, if not from maybe his grandmother, maybe his grandfather said this. Yeah, so obviously that's bullshit. But they got to try to spin because they know they're, dear God, super wrong here. Do I want to watch this one? I think I want to watch this other side-scrollers one.
Who have been very critical of the response to people laughing, and
this is in the same line as that the Asmongold, the Rev Des video, where in which you're seeing some of the fallout of people saying wild bananas stuff, and I think this is going to be an ongoing theme, is that we're going to see some of these rules applied a little bit more fairly. And people are going to be, freaking out that these things are actually hitting them. And all of a sudden, you're going to see people who have probably for years said, well, freedom of speech doesn't include hate speech. Freedom of speech doesn't include. Freedom of speech doesn't include. Freedom of speech doesn't include. Oh, well, you can't say this, you can't say that. Oh, yeah, you know what? It doesn't matter if there's no law against it, it doesn't mean that we can't contact your employer and say that you got a horrible person on your team and we should get them fired. Yeah. Which you know what? Getting rid of all that hypocrisy, I'm okay with it. You know, making sure everybody lives in the same world. I'm okay with it.
And celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, and people have been obviously upset at the response of people laughing and dancing and celebrating. To where I feel like, and this was referenced yesterday, I think I initially heard this on Razor's show when he was talking about this, but it was referenced from a super chat yesterday. Like, the left has a dial and the right traditionally has a switch. And I feel like this event kind of flipped the switch to where now action is starting to be had. And people who are upset about people laughing at Charlie Kirk, knowing that it is a despicable act, are now contacting other people's those people's employers, and guess what? They're getting fired. So this brings up the idea of cancel culture, right? What exactly does that look like? Is this good or bad? And we saw this guy right here. He says, "I wish I could like this 1,000 more times." American is spending his days going around the internet finding people making fun of Charlie Kirk's death, and I go and report them to their employers. Here, let's just go ahead and play this minute and 90 seconds here.
Hi, my name is Quinn Pratt, and I like going around on the internet finding people making fun of Charlie Kirk's death, and I go and report them to their employers so they get fired. And we got 5 more. We have sent out over 300 emails to employers, and we have gotten now 15 confirmed fires. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Gabrielle from Illinois, you're fired. Lincoln from Utah, you're fired. Amanda, another Amanda from Wyoming, you've been terminated. Suck it.
I don't know if I'd be doing this outside in front of your house. Stay safe.
Shasta from Washington State, your ass is fired. And Curtis, again from Texas. What the hell, Texans? What the fuck? Curtis from Texas,
Austin.
You've also been terminated. You're welcome. Now, truth being told, I've probably lost about 50,000 followers throughout all social medias while I'm doing this.
Yikes.
But I would rather have every single one of my accounts hit 0 before I give in to these people. So if you want to try and affect me or affect my income by unfollowing me, I don't care. I would much rather go back to a 9-to-5 job than let this kind of shit slide. And I know for a fact that over half of this country agrees with what I'm doing. So hopefully,
at this point, way more. At this point, it's going to be something like, 60, 70, 80% of people.
They start finding me pretty soon. So go ahead and do your whole mass unfollowing and everything like that, because again, I would rather see all my accounts hit 0 than letting you guys try and bully me into not doing this anymore. And if you agree with what I'm doing, please hit that follow button. Counteract their mass unfollowing of me.
So, I have a new account to follow. Quinn Pratt 5. It looks like over on Instagram. Let me know what his followers look like. And maybe everybody can go follow this guy. So
50,000 means he must be pretty
big. The
big.
response to this has been, well, first and foremost, what are y'all's thoughts on his actions here?
That's not cancel culture. That's not cancel culture. When you're talking about, if you had, let's say you had an employee that is,
I think it probably is cancel culture. Yeah. Let's not try to go away from it. Let's go we can say it is cancel culture. It's just finally being applied equally, which, we're not for it, but it's the culture that we've got. To try to pretend that we don't have cancel culture is again, trying to pretend that we live in a world where nuclear weapons don't exist. It's like, okay, you can pretend, but it's not true. If you're going to be, a realist, if you're going to be pragmatic, you have to acknowledge the fact that this thing exists, this is the world you live in, and therefore act accordingly. And, if you live in a world where cancel culture is, an accepted practice on either side, the only way to deal with it is to have it be applicable to both sides. Otherwise, it's just going to be, it's just going to be a bludgeon used by one side over the other forever. And, that kind of stuff, it can't stand. It just doesn't work like that.
Celebrating murder, I would be a little concerned about that. There's a difference between having...
And I mean, this is also true. There is a large difference between, hey, I disagree with this person versus this person's like ghoulishly celebrating someone's assassination and then like calling for further violence. There's a huge difference between that. Absolutely. But I think if we're trying to sort of say like, no, this isn't cancel culture, you're opening yourself up to an attack where it's like, somebody makes the kind of correct argument that like, no, this is cancel culture. It's like, okay, yeah, sure it is, but we're just finally applying it equally. I think that's the better explanation here.
An opinion of something, of X or whatever, that's not breaking any laws or anything like that, whatever, that's freedom of speech. When you're starting to, look, celebrating someone's murder, you could argue is freedom of speech, but as far as employment is concerned, I would be concerned if my employee was screaming for joy over blood blowing out of someone's neck. That's a concern of mine.
Certainly, yeah. And I mean, this is the whole thing where like the OSHA stuff comes in. If you were working with that person and you were like, this person's sitting next to you in a cubicle and you see their TikTok that is like, yeah, we should do this person or that person and this person, you'd go, woo, okay. I don't know if I wouldn't want to sit next to that person. I would be a little bit afraid to go to work, legitimately, because especially if you disagree with them politically, if you again, you see their TikTok and you go, okay, well, I'm kind of not 100% aligned. Maybe they have a bad day and they go crazy. Yeah, I mean, that's, you should kind of feel a little bit unsafe by that person being around you. In terms of the cancel culture stuff, someone who's not in the office with doing that kind of stuff, again, I don't mind calling it cancel culture. I know that, we've kind of, people on the sort of the right side or the MAGA side, or the conservative side, libertarian side, have said it's a bad, horrible thing and we want to get rid of it. And I'm in agreement with that. It is a bad, horrible thing and we should get rid of it. But we have to get rid of it from everybody. It has to be universally despised. It has to be universally abhorred and not used. If only one side doesn't use it, it doesn't work. It's just not how human behavior and civilization works.
I feel like, to further your point, Phoenix, I feel like cancel culture is something where you see somebody who said something a decade ago and they go, well, you can't say that.
Can't say that anymore.
Right? Yeah. You can't say that. Oh, he was in a movie where he said the F word. Ray, what are your thoughts? Is cancel culture or not?
I mean, I think it's less than cancel culture. This is a trend that's been going around the internet for years. I think we're just seeing it, like you said, this way.
Is this cancel culture? If he asked me that same question, hey, is this cancel culture? Yeah, it is. And I don't care. It's fine. It's fine. It's utilizing it fairly. It's utilizing it equitably. And it's utilizing it realistically for offenses that are significantly worse and much more universally agreed to be bad than, crazy, super politicized, super political bullcrap. So is it? Yeah, sure. You can call it that, but it's like, it's fine. I don't care.
Switch is flipping a little bit, and we're starting to see it on the other side, specifically with this. But I mean, even last week, like when the Phillies Karen, the internet did its thing and found her instantly. And so like this is not a new action. I don't know if it's necessarily cancel culture. I think it's like a symptom or like of cancel culture, like where it's become so accepted that if people don't agree with me or agree with what I like, I'm going to go tattletale on them. Like I'm going to go tell on them. So there's a part of me, it's like, man, I don't know, but like, also, I get it, because I'll be honest with you, if I could figure out every single one of those jerks at TMZ that threw a party when when he died, like, and clearly TMZ, who is like dog water in regards to morality, like also thinks it's bad because they put a statement out last night, this morning. That was like, we just want to be clear that the cheering that was happening was because there was a car chase and the driver was shut up, like, miss me with all of that. So like, I think that when you were an employee of anywhere, you have to understand that you represent that company.
Yeah, it's a bad
all
look.
over the place. Your social media footprint represents them. The way you behave out in town, the way that you behave at your kids' high school football games.
And this is the thing where it's like, okay, one side has felt that pain already, and therefore, you know, behaves in that manner now. Where it's like, okay, you know, we have this social media stuff out there, and anything I say on it can affect every other or any other part of my life. So I better make sure that, you know, the things that I say comport with, you know, societal niceties and rules, or else I will find consequences pervading all other aspects of my life.
And volleyball games, you represent where you work, and like when you are out of pocket in a very public way, you're opening yourself up to face the consequence of those things. I think that people a lot of times misunderstand like the difference between freedom of speech and the consequences of the things that you say. Like those are two different things. Yeah, you can say whatever you want, but like you're gonna carry the weight of what you say too.
I think that's okay. So there's a lot
Yeah,
there, and man,
Yeah.
it's.
I think I broke Craig.
No.
No.
You're right. You're 100%
It is.
right.
No. To be perfectly honest, I think the correct response here is one where we acknowledge that it's like, yeah, it is cancel culture. It is. No, you're right. It is. Are you saying that you're against cancel culture? Yeah. I'm saying I'm against it, right? Yeah. I'm like, okay, were you against it 5 years ago? Were you against it 10 years ago? Were you against it when it was opposed, you know, when it was something that you hated? Would you have been opposed to, you know, Charlie Kirk being canceled? And if they were to say, and I would imagine they would say, well, no, that's fine. Was you against it then? Were you against it for this person? No. Okay, well then, you know, you have nothing to be concerned about then, because we're just applying this fairly and equitably, and we're just, you know, democratizing the tools that you invented. And to be honest, we're applying them. I say we, I'm not doing it, but like, you know, we're applying him more judiciously, I would say.
I think that cancel culture and what's happening right now are totally different. I think the analogy I gave makes a little bit of sense. You mentioned TMZ.
Yeah.
You mentioned TMZ here, and you know, they were like, no, they weren't cheering the announcement of the death of Charlie Kirk. Well, this lady decided, hey, how about I just show you that you're full of shit.
Oh, I don't need TMZ's cameras. There's nothing I love more than a good investigation, and I'm coming to you guys with the receipts. Exhibit A, the alleged car chase that they were watching.
Right there on the banner below, you can see it started in Temple City, and we saw that. Go ahead, Philip.
Well, I wanted to let you know that President Trump has said Charlie Kirk has died. So that is the breaking news that we are likely about to have with ABC News.
Exhibit B, the giant clocks around their office.
Oof.
Exhibit C, don't worry, you won't have to do the math because I've done it for you. Timestamp time. It is 1:07 and 15 seconds in the afternoon with a timestamp on their video of 3 hours, 42 minutes, and 5 seconds.
For 3 o'clock in Utah time, which is 2 o'clock Pacific.
Really have a lot of stuff in here to allow her to put this together super forensically correctly. This is hilarious.
2 minutes and 15 second mark.
Good Lord.
Which is a difference of 35 minutes and 10 seconds.
This lady lays it down so good.
Yes. This is rough, dude. Holy crap.
Idiots. Just
So if you take the timestamp plus the clock saying it was 1:07 and 15 seconds, add 35 minutes and 15 seconds, what time would you have? 1:43. So technically we're watching a car chase video. What do you think they were cheering for?
People in the back room away from our news desk here who were watching a car chase. And
they were
laughing, they were clapping, and you could hear it out here.
Yeah.
And we want to make
they were laughing and cheering
one is
about things that happened while they were watching.
And they were not laughing, they were not reacting that way about Charlie Kirk's assassination. They were not. They would not work here if
well,
they did.
Well,
Sounds like they gotta...
technically not his assassination, but like the fact that he's dead. Yeah.
A little bit of firing to do.
Well, they
Yeah.
should, but no one's going to hold him accountable.
I love the other guy on the side. He's like,
How do you hold them accountable in a situation like that? You know?
You have to have leadership that's got a moral backbone to do it. And like I said, when you look at that organization, I highly...
Not really. I don't think you necessarily have to have a moral background. I think you have to have, somebody in the company who's got the company's well-being in mind. And you go, yeah, guess what? The vast majority of people see this stuff and they go, yeah, no, I don't really want to support a company that employs or is made up of like ghoulish monsters. I'm not going to patronize that company anymore. So like, hey, your video game's made by like disgusting, not even really human being peoples. Okay, I'm probably not going to buy that video game. Oh, TMZ, it employs a bunch of ghoulish monsters that are cheering for the death of somebody. I don't think I'm going to go on TMZ anymore. I think it's fair to say I'm not going to be patronizing that company. I'm not going to be clicking on any videos that have TMZ in it or on it or around it. And they will lose out on any and all of my ad dollars and revenue. So I think the people in charge would understand that, and they would go, oh, okay, so we want to probably try to clean house and make it so that the people that we're employing are not a massive detractor to the company.
I really doubt that exists.
I don't think TMZ is seen as the ultimate backbone of journalism.
But the guy who I'm assuming is the CEO of TMZ did say like, oh yeah, no, they were not cheering for that. If they did, they wouldn't be employed here. He knows it's a bad look. He knows it's a bad thing if he's got people that are that crazy and disgusting employed at his company. And therefore he has to try to make it sound like, no, we're not doing that. If you were that morally lapsed, if you had that degree of just loss or lack of morals, then you wouldn't care. You'd be like, yeah, no, we did. And good for him. I was cheering with him too.
I get it. TMZ, number one, is like, who has ever cheered for? I mean, even you talked about the O.J. Simpson car chase. Did we cheer at the end of that, or did we go, oh, it's over, they got him? Like, I don't remember anyone cheering about O.J. getting pulled over, and that's probably the most famous car chase in the history of the world. So it's just like a weak excuse, man. I would almost rather you stand up for what you actually believe in and take ownership in it than to try to skirt away from it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this as well. This guy, Kevin Dalton, says, for what it's worth, I worked for TMZ for years. I can say with rare exception, the newsroom is filled with hateful, angry progressives that would, without question, laugh at Charlie Kirk getting shot. Right? So, just his own personal experience right here.
Sure.
So,
I mean, that's definitely the case.
But going back to the idea of cancel culture over here, this is a viral post here from this person. Says, I'm not condoning, by the way, this is in response to obviously Kirsha. So originally there's a lot here. We'll start at the bottom.
Okay.
Asmongold said, if you guys want to make a list, if I have time tomorrow, I can put them all together in a video with links to their employers. Kirsha says, Asmongold asking for a list of game devs celebrating or condoning Charlie's assassination. If you find any posts or videos anywhere, please reply to him with them. And this person says, I'm not condoning the assassination, but it's so ironic that these guys have waged war on cancel culture and then continue the same behaviors, same exact playbook. They condemn them, or they condemn people being fired over edgy opinions online just to turn around and do it when their turn came. To which was quietly or effectively pointed out by Kirsha. What the fuck did they think was going to happen? A continuation of, okay. You tried to ruin our lives for over a decade, but it's cool, bro. No consequences.
Right.
Do not let them gaslight you. They would have no mercy for you. They've shown that, especially in the past few days. Yeah.
And this is true. And I mean, this is why I really do have to say, trying to sort of like skirt around. I mean, I get it. It's because a lot of people have basically like so made their bones on like cancel culture being horrible and awful, that they don't want to, again, have the cognitive dissonance of being like, okay, well, yeah, now we are using the cancel culture stuff. It's like, no, the better way to go is be like, yeah, no, just act like embrace that cognitive dissonance, figure out why it hurts, and then, deal with it.
So, I don't think Kirsch is wrong here. I think the shoe is on the other foot, and I have no problems with people losing their jobs based off of this. And Phoenix, I think you're right. Yeah. This is real time. You're advocating and laughing at murder of a person, which I gotta be honest. If let's just say somebody went out and shot a super left-wing progressive, if Phoenix or Blabs were laughing about it online, if I was laughing, I should fucking fire myself. That's not how this should work. That's not what we're going to do here.
And if you're someone who can't connect with humanity, if I had a video where I'm just Milo and noticing my dog, let's say, and really beating him and laughing, or just pointing out a video and sharing that and laughing, you'd be very concerned about your employers right there. So to me, there's a huge difference with that. Yeah.
It's a mental health thing.
Yes.
Right? I don't want fucking Looney Tunes working for me. Sorry.
Sure.
And look, we're a small business over here, right? We're hoping to make waves, and we're going to get to the business aspect of all this later. But there's an opportunity here for a giant culling of all this, of a giant purge of this disgusting behavior inside these companies, which ties us into.
And I mean, this is another aspect of the sort of like the fairness stuff is like, a lot of these companies have been fumigated of everybody who's on one side. The right has just been like, completely extracted out of them by utilizing this one tool. And therefore, these companies kind of need this, reciprocity to regain balance. And you know what? I think it might be the case that video games get better because of this.
To the next part over here, because we did see from Sucker Punch Studios their response to this person here who worked for Sucker Punch.
Yeah, this is bad.
Says, I hope, we talked about this yesterday briefly. I hope the shooter's name is Mario, so that Luigi knows his bro got his back, and he also retweeting this. He died doing what he loved, being a transphobic, racist bigot. Well, guess what?
Ooh.
Fired.
Yep.
But hey, let's just double down, baby. By the way. Double and triple down over here. If standing up against fascism is what cost me my dream job I held for 10 years, I would do it.
10 years. 10 years. That's interesting that it's 10 years. It's interesting that at the start of this cancel culture, this person got hired. I wonder why. I wonder if there's any connection between the rise of cancel culture 10 years ago, where in which a bunch of people, probably at Sucker Punch and these things, who were more experienced and better at making games, got fired, and then this person got hired. I wonder if maybe, because I mean, I remember there being talk of, I'm sure this is a conspiracy theory, but like whisper networks in comic books and game studios and these things that pushed established, older, more experienced, more talented, more driven, more creative people out of their industries to make room for less competent people.
Again, 100 times stronger, which I think that to me tells you everything you need to know, that they are so ideologically.
No, this is the first thing that they've said. This is the first thing they've said. They will, once it sinks in, maybe then you can reevaluate.
Driven that it doesn't matter. They're willing to give up their dream job because they think that you are a fascist.
I keep trying to tell people this, is that a lot of people I'll say in this, as far as politics on the right, a lot of people keep thinking that money will solve something. It will not. You're talking about an ideology. So that's not going to work. They don't care if they lose money. They don't care if they lose their job. They don't care about any of that. Maybe message is what is most important. Here's my message to everyone. I would recommend wherever this person works, you don't buy that product, period. Anywhere they go, you don't buy that product. There's my extremism. And as far as Ghost of Yotei, I was going to get that. Not only will I not get that, but I will never buy a Sucker Punch game moving forward ever again, period. And you can trust me, you can hold me to that. Fuck all this. We need to start sending a message out there that you need to start really looking at the people you're hiring and the messages that they're putting out. And this is despicable, in my opinion.
It's also because, those people that are employed there, realistically, as I've said before, if they're that ideologically motivated, if that is the thing that captures the majority of their attention and their time, my guess is they're not really as interested in making games. Like the people that are super, super involved making games, they don't have time for other shit. They're like super insanely obsessed about like a Mega Man level or something like that. Oh man, how can I animate? Like, how can I make the sprite move better? How can I make it do that? Like, they're just hyper bananas crazy obsessed about that. They don't have time for anything else. They're like, I didn't remember to eat today. I haven't changed my clothes in 3 days. That's the type of person I want working on my video games, because they're going to give me the most insanely, beautifully well-crafted experience, as opposed to, this person who's actually spending like 90% of their brain power on Twitter and Blue Sky tweets and, scrolling.
Who we haven't heard from, despite the firing, is Sucker Punch. They haven't had any sort of statement about this. Now, DC Comics, we saw one of their folks fired, and DC Comics made a statement, but Sucker Punch hasn't released a statement. And I think Az is right here, because they're scared.
Yeah.
They're scared of the backlash from the freaks that they employ, because they know where the unhinged violence truly comes from. That tells you either leadership is too scared or leadership is aligned with this message. And firing one person, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Can I ask a question though? Like in regards to gaming industry, like when did it become that the norm and the acceptance and all of it had to be? I mean, I don't even want to say it's far left. It's like radicalized fluid gender ideology. You know what I mean? Like, we look at what's happened with Sony and their failed games. We look at what's happening with Concord right now. It seems like guys like Sucker Punch, I want to be clear, I'm not defending the company for not speaking. That's not where I'm going. I'm just saying, like, the belief right now is so strong that the conservative or the straight white guy is not the market, that I think it is about money sometimes, because they're fearful of not appeasing the demographic that we have become also convinced and trained that is the demographic in the gaming universe. Like, I am not the demographic anymore. Whether I am or whether I'm not, that's not what's communicated.
I mean,
Phoenix, sorry. Phoenix, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. You prior to here had you said that you gave up your career based off of yes. You literally gave up your first career because of this. When did you start seeing the shift, or was it always there?
So no. So back in the day, the artists, this is not going to be a shocker, very, very left leaning.
Sure.
And as was I, but they were always freedom of speech. They were always, listen, they may be our enemy or whatever, but we need to fight to give them their right to speak. It was when I started to see that starting to shift, and when you started to see that in the higher ups, and you started to see this weird messaging about how we need to be more inclusive with this, and this, regardless of talent or ability or anything like that. That it was like, this is starting to feel kind of culty. And then sure enough, then they start telling you, well, you know, we need to eliminate a whole group, a race of people, in this case, white people and straight people, and all that stuff. We started to see it coming. They started regarding other people who were against that or didn't fall in line with that as fascists. That's when it started to wake me up again, as I keep saying. Then I went, well, I need to talk to them. I'm not just going to take it for, okay, you just told me that, so all right, let's eliminate these people. I wanted to talk.
Yeah, I agree with what Chewy just said in the chat. Chewy Cadaver just says that game demographics are ignoring 90% of the actual base. And while I think that's true, again, like, why is that not what's communicated? Like to me, that's a problem. And
I think a lot of this has to do with the ESG stuff. They are kind. I mean, like, I want to say Razorfist has said this before, which is like they are primed for it. Like their business model is just really super duper insanely incentivized by the ESG stuff, where they're trying to, you know, they're raising funds to make this game. It's going to take, 5-10 years to make it, blah, 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 blah. So getting ESG money in the interim is a really, really good deal for them, more so than other companies. It's just like, it makes more sense for them to do it. And that, then requires, hiring like consultants and these types of things that are going to have some impact on the games. Then you have to have, put some stuff in there. That stuff's in there. And, then there's like a slow slide of like changing up, just like everything about the game until it more aligns with, a sort of like progressive lefty version of reality. And eventually people then wake up and they go, okay, well, this isn't for me.
I think that one of the things that we're seeing that long term, we might look back at this Charlie Kirk situation. I've seen so many people in the Rumble community, so many people that I know are connected to Rumble, or even in some cases, the other apps that are coming out on Twitter, and they're saying things like, hey, I'm not going to be quiet about what I believe anymore. And I'll be honest with you guys, like, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, I want you to be honest and communicate what you believe. Like, you have a right to do that. And it just seems like it's so suppressed. I don't understand how it can feel like the actual industry is so skewed by what they're shoving down our throat to understand versus what the actual demographic is. I'm telling you that there is not 90% of the Call of Duty players in this community, the Call of Duty community, that wants to see trans flag gun skins. We don't care.
Stop playing Call of Duty.
Yeah,
it's
no,
very
I
simple.
agree. No,
they don't.
I don't disagree with you. But the point they're making is like, who's the guy in the marketing meeting that's like, you know what 15-year-old boys want? Trans flags. Who's that?
Again, I don't think, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think they're looking at it from that perspective. I think they are thinking about it from this perspective of like, they can get the ESG money, and there's someone who's saying, hey, we want this, and someone in like the HR department, whatever, someone who's designing skins is like putting this out there and like, oh, it'd be really great. It'd be like, and they're probably like, we're not seeing a huge downtick in the people who are buying it. And therefore, the money is basically going, all right, well, it didn't go down, so that's fine.
Because it's very simple. If I've got two people to bully, one person never puts up a fight ever, and the other one always does, I'm going to just go to the one that's like, well, they're going to shut up. I'm going to take it, and they'll shut up and do nothing. I'll go to that.
The path of least resistance, right? These people aren't going to be a pain in the ass. These people will, fine,
Yeah.
I looked up on, I was just Googling the CEO of Sucker Punch Productions.
Mm-hmm.
It's a person named Andrea Figuracion. And I got to be honest, I can't find a picture of this person. I can't find a LinkedIn. I can't find anything about this person online.
Really?
I'm sure they exist, maybe.
Probably.
But I legitimately...
Are they in the room with us right now, Craig?
I don't know. I feel like they're right behind me.
Yeah.
Bob, see if you can find a little bit of
Yeah, I'm
information
looking on
about this person.
LinkedIn trying to find, because I don't see anything either.
So this person has been fired for being a dipshit over at Sucker Punch. But this
What a
has
loss.
definitely started, I would say, another movement here. And every movement needs a head of the snake. And I think that Asmongold may be this person who has brought this to the forefront. Once again, not to say he started this, because we've been talking about this for fucking years, but hey, be
We'll
happy
take
that
it.
this has been brought up. He dropped a new video calling out various industry leftists and wants people to take responsibility. I would say declaring war on the industry.
One of these companies and you have a person like this doing it, make sure to talk to HR and let them know how uncomfortable you feel that there's a person who's working at your company who might want to
We've seen this like 3 times down a day.
advocate to have you killed because you disagree with them. Tell them that it makes you afraid to come into work.
Worth repeating, though.
Tell them that, you know, you don't know, maybe you're going to file a lawsuit, you feel unsafe at your workplace. And honestly, here's the important thing. You should feel unsafe because these people would justify violence against anybody who disagrees with them. And just because you think you know them doesn't
Kinda
mean
feels
they
like they
wouldn't
have.
do the exact same thing to you.
I think what he's saying here is really, really important because they would do the exact same thing to you. And you, if they're going to play dirty,
And it's not even really speculation. It's kind of like they've proven that to be the case.
congratulations. It's time to play dirty.
But that's the flaw in the statement, Craig. Though, when you look at all these people that are getting fired for their, you know, far left wing, they're all HR reps. Like I'm telling you right now, like when you go to an HR rep at 90% of the businesses, and my stats are not justified, I'm making that up. It feels that way. Like you're walking into the lines, and I promise you, the opposite side of what Asmongold is encouraging people to do is you are going to get fired because the HR rep's going to disagree with you.
So I mean, this is very fair, which is why for a lot of these, I mean, you know, it depends on what company you're working at, it really does. But yeah, the OSHA stuff is probably a better way to go, where it's like, you know, you're taking this to, you know, a third party organization that at the very least, you know, kind of sort of, because it is a government organization, ostensibly Trump is running it. And therefore, you know, there might be some better people involved that might actually take your stuff seriously. But if not, you know, there's still like, there is more procedural protections in there. It's anonymous. You don't have to deal with it. So, I mean, yeah, the OSHA stuff is probably for the majority of people, probably is the better way to go if you don't want to get fired.
They are the ones that are supporting this movement above and beyond. It's always HR reps. It's always.
That's
just curious. In your experience, and the 90% that you've seen, just as a general question, are they male or female?
It's always female.
Yeah.
What is the age of that HR
Yeah.
person?
It's like that. Well, it spans somewhere in between that, like 45, 58.
Yeah.
The lead over there. Okay. Nationality.
Oh, they're 12 times out of 10, they're white ladies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
We're just connecting dots. That's all. We're just connecting dots.
Yeah,
over here.
I'm also happy to be disagreed with on this topic. I just feel like you're walking, like they will do the opposite, and they're going to do it when you walk into that office because they're waiting for you.
Good. So what you do is you go in there because they have to document everything, right? Now fuck all these people. So they have to document everything. If you can record
but
them,
not necessarily.
If that's legal, please do so. Have them record it and then sue their asses.
And that is the one thing I was saying. Where the only reason that you would want to document a complaint to your HR company would be, you know, later on to have evidence that they did some malfeasance. And therefore, you can, you know, you have a lawsuit against them. But the lawsuits take some time and money, so it's not necessarily your best bet.
Implore and urge everyone out there to start suing everyone that you possibly can. Because here's the alternative. Well, if I go in there, I'm going to get fired. So once again, I'm going to do fuck all and let society and culture burn because I'm scared. No, fuck that. Go in there and start making change.
That's not my point to not do it.
Oh, I know it's not your point.
That's not my point. My point just...
Your point is nothing's going to happen.
Just is like... for whatever reason, man, it is the HR Karens. I think someone just said it in chat. Like, it is 100% these human resources, human relations people and like the funny thing is, man, you get these HR professionals at Fortune 500 companies or game studios or whatever it is. None of them have an education or a background in being an HR person, and they all act like they've got like sociology degrees and they're all psychiatrists and they all are like, but they're not. They got fired from Walmart. The company was hiring HR. They end up being an HR person out of Walmart 15 years ago and somehow have convinced themselves that they understand sociology and interpersonal relationships. It's wild.
He's not
it's
wrong.
Wild to me.
He is not wrong.
Let's go to finish this video here when it comes to Asmongold and his thoughts.
And this is them. This is the game that they're making right here. And you can see that they've made no statement of data community pollutants because legal reasons have been for negative.
Been preaching for a long time is that you see what here's the reality. No amount of my opinions don't reflect my employer in your social media will that's not like some sort of fucking legal disclaimer.
Yeah, it's not magic.
It doesn't stop you your employer from taking actions. As a matter of fact, the first thing that most employers look at nowadays is not your resume, but is your social media profile, right? Yeah, I'm sure you know, Ray. Yes. So the idea of, hey, you know, guys, just because I'm saying something my employer doesn't like doesn't mean it reflects my employer. No, everything you say online reflects your employer, reflects your family, reflects everything else, right?
All right, so that's it from them, and I will say that's going to be it from me. Good luck in all your endeavors. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Tomorrow, we will be playing Hollow Knight. Yes, we'll be playing Hollow Knight again. And that'll be that. I think I will be returning to a daily upload schedule because I have a whole bunch already made up. And I think we can more or less continue the way that we've been doing it, where we're streaming every other day, making 2 videos per stream, and then maybe I'll do like one on one of my days off so that we get every day. So we have 7 videos a week, once a day. That sounds very reasonable to me.